Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Mike Missanelli Show. No Mike Missanelli today, but you got Bill Colarulo, Ray Dunn behind the glass as always, and a special treat today.
Treat?
One and only Amy Fadul.
I don't know. Special, sure. We'll go with that.
Special treat with Amy Fadul for all 4 hours. A lot to get into. Obviously, the big topic of the day, again, will be the Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown drama, quote unquote. They addressed it yesterday. It was the first time since all of this went down. Sunday, obviously, A.J. Brown says what needs to be worked on. Passing. Brandon Graham then takes gasoline, throws it on the fire on the air on Monday night, saying that there was a personal issue between Jalen and A.J. that needs to be taken care of. So we hadn't heard from either A.J. Brown or Jalen Hurts up until yesterday. We have a ton of audio that we're going to play for you. But before we get to the audio, I'll give you my reactions to what I heard. Look, this is an $8 billion company. Literally. The Philadelphia Eagles have been valued at $8 billion. So clearly, they were going to get their PR staff involved. They were going to meet with the coaches. They were going to meet with the players. And they were going to figure out what the unified message was going to be. There are some people out there saying that this was not real. It was not authentic. I think that it was. Yes, they had a unified message. Yes, PR probably told them what they should say and how it would be received in a city like Philadelphia. But I don't think you could have asked for more from the way Sirianni handled it at his press conference to start the day to the way A.J. Brown handled it at his locker. You saw pictures all throughout Twitter. There looked like 1,000 reporters. I'm exaggerating, but 1,000 reporters at his locker.
Busy day.
He handled it well. And Jalen Hurts, I have to say, I don't always love Jalen Hurts in press conferences. I thought the way he handled it yesterday was extremely good as well. So the question we're throwing out to start the show is, and we'll play clips throughout, are we ready to move on now? Is the drama behind us based off of this being addressed yesterday? Now, Amy, you were down there yesterday. You were in the locker room, I believe. You were at Jalen Hurts' presser. What do you think from what you heard? Did you think it was authentic?
I mean, I think your point about it being a unified message, that's just relative to any company, any organization, whether it's a sports team or a Fortune 500 company, right? If you have any kind of issues, they want to make sure everybody's on the same page. I thought there was a certain level of authenticity to it. I don't think it was, clear PR talk. I think it was, you guys need to address this. Here's how, you need to be aware of what you're going to say and how it's going to be parsed through the filters of whomever's listening. That's the thing. Like, people are going to point out to the media, oh, you guys made it. No, you listened with whatever preconceived notion and bias you have, right? Like, that's how everybody consumes whatever they're trying to read or hear. So I thought it was fine. I mean, I think that they still got their points across, and I think they said it both in ways that were genuine to each person that said it, whether you're talking about Nick Sirianni or Jalen Hurts or A.J. Brown. It wasn't like they said the same, verboten statement, right? So do I think it's over? No. I think it's going to continue, and that's fine, because until A.J. Brown has, 18 targets in one game and catches 10 balls for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, we probably will continue to look at how many targets he's getting, and they need to realize that. I mean, now it's on everybody's radar. It was already on our radar, but now it's really like, oh, let's really monitor this. And so, yeah, I mean, it's going to continue, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's over, and we'll get into more later on in the show when we look forward to the Steelers game on Sunday, because depending on how that game goes, maybe this drama creeps back in, depending on if they have a bad passing game or not. But the first thing that they needed to address was Brandon Graham coming out. And people, I already see him in the YouTube chat. Move on already. Well, the reason we can't move on is this became national news. When A.J. Brown made his comments post-game, what needs to be worked on, and he says passing, that created a little bit of a buzz. But what really exploded was when Brandon Graham said that there was a personal issue, that they used to be friends, but things have changed. And then he went on to say, you can't let the personal get in the way of business. And that just caused a media storm. And whether you think that the media should talk about it or not, I don't see how we couldn't talk about it.
Yeah, and it wasn't like he was baited into that. Brandon Graham said it. That was his opinion. He was asked a very innocuous question, and that was the answer he gave, which I thought was I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're talking about this now.
So I'm going to play clips throughout the show today, but let's start, Ray, with A.J. Brown at his locker, and the first thing he was asked was about BG and BG's comments. Can you play us A.J. Brown 1?
BG we're just being BG. He's emotional. In that case, he just misspoke. Me and Jalen are good. So it's BG, guys. So everybody loves BG. He's speaking from the heart. He's just giving his perception on something from the outside.
So BG just being BG. I'm not sure that I'm buying that necessarily. Look, we all love Brandon Graham. He's been with the Eagles more than any player in franchise history. But I think we all agree he probably crossed the line when he started talking about the personal relationship between Hurts and A.J. And A.J. says, look, BG being BG. And then Jalen Hurts started his press conference yesterday, was also asked about Brandon Graham. And here's Hurts talking about BG.
We're good. We're good.
Did you two talk after Brandon's comment?
We've spoken. I think in the end, Brandon, BG, we calling him Brandon, BG knows he spoke out of place, and he knows that.
So BG spoke out of place.
That is a warm reception right there.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen obviously wasn't
irritated.
happy. Yeah, he wasn't happy. He was not happy. And I know that there's some people who are saying, well, A.J. started this whole thing. And he did say passing, and we'll get into what he meant because he does elaborate on it. But none of this would have been news. I really don't think that we would have been talking about this now.
No, it would have been like the passing game, talk about that, and then it would have moved on. There wouldn't have been any kind of no one would have even thought twice about the relationship between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown.
But here we are now, Thursday, 4 days removed from the comments about passing, and we're still talking about it because of Brandon Graham. But the more important issue, okay, I think everyone agrees Brandon Graham shouldn't have said what he said. I know there are a few people out there who think it was calculated and that maybe it's going to bring these guys closer together. I don't think so.
No.
I think BG crossed the line a little bit. But more importantly, what came of this was, is there a problem between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, not only on the field but off of it? Is there a problem with their personal relationship? Now, you heard A.J. kind of say everything's fine, but Jalen addressed it yesterday as well and said he has love for A.J. Ray, can you play Hurts too?
Sometimes things change as dynamics change, but for him, he knows I had a lot of love for him, just like I got a lot of love for all these guys. And ultimately, he's a guy that's a competitor. He wants to win. He damn sure wants the ball, and he wants to make an impact in the game. And I respect that. And that's just like all of us.
So, look, Jalen's not usually the best speaker, in my opinion.
He doesn't give you a lot of information.
He's very robotic. But I like that answer there. I mean, he addressed it. He's got a lot of love for him. I got a lot of love for everybody on this team. What was the first part?
Where he said like, their dynamics have clearly changed.
Yeah, what do you think he meant by that? Like, I took that as the dynamics have changed because now he's my teammate. But you think that maybe there's more going on?
Maybe I don't know. I don't know why you would even need to include that if there hadn't been some shift in your relationship, which is fine. It does. Maybe it's because they're teammates. Maybe it's because it's all business when they're on the field, and it's like we can go back to being buddy. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to be privy to their personal relationship as far as how it may have changed. But you didn't have to say that. You could have just said the part that you said, where like, yeah, we're good. I got a lot of love for him, just like I do everybody else. All right. Well, this is a guy that's the godfather. You're the godfather of one of his children, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, before they were teammates. And look, you heard it last year. I heard it last year. There was a lot of smoke, and where there's smoke, there's fire, that maybe something happened between Jalen and A.J. last year, that their relationship wasn't great. I know what I heard was Jalen was very unhappy with A.J. Brown when he went on that media strike, and then he does finally speak. One of the things that A.J. admitted was in the Seattle game, Sirianni didn't make that call at the end of the game. Me and Jalen went rogue, and Sirianni made himself look like a clown for us. And I heard that Jalen wasn't very happy with that. He didn't like that A.J. had to reveal that to the media. Now, is that the reason that their relationship maybe has changed? I don't think that could.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think of relationships, and I take what Jalen says is relationships evolve. and they change in a dynamic that maybe is just different than they used to be. Not in a bad way necessarily. I think that that's just life. For him to say that, there's clearly been a shift in the dynamics of the offense, the dynamics of their relationship, because he says, oh, yeah, situations change, dynamics change. I got a lot of love for him. He's clearly talking about A.J. Brown. So when people think like, oh, no, he's talking about the dynamics of just the team. Well, no, he was asked specifically about A.J. Brown's his relationship, and that's what he said. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. You can evolve in a good way, too. Things change. I think he was trying to say, again, it's all speculation, but I think he's trying to say, hey, with Brandon Graham, what is he talking about? Listen, this is maybe what he saw, that our dynamic in BG's eyes had changed, and I'm addressing it, and now it's time to move on. That's kind of how I took it. I didn't take it as a negative, but, that's how he rolled.
And there's so much more to get into, because coming up, we're going to play some clips about exactly what A.J. Brown says he meant post-game when he said that the passing could be improved. He addressed it. Jalen Hurts addressed it. And I want you to address it. If you've listened to A.J. Brown's interview yesterday, you listened to Jalen Hurts' press conference yesterday, are you ready to move on? Do you think that this has now all been put to bed? Is this team going to be better for it? Or do you think this may be something that can linger? You can get in 610-632-0975. We got a lot to get into today. Not only with this, we're also going to talk about Jeffrey Lurie selling a piece of the franchise, and could that lead to a new stadium in South Philadelphia? We'll talk about it all. This is the Mike Missanelli Show. You got Bill Colarulo, Amy Fadul, and the one and only Ray Dunn behind the glass. Keep it here.
Philadelphia.
Everybody, welcome back into the Mike Missanelli Show. No Mikey Miss today. If you were listening yesterday, Mikey Miss has a little colonoscopy today. I would not normally reveal his personal information, but he said it yesterday on the show. Wanted to make sure everybody knows, get your colonoscopies, can save your life. John Kincade reminded us of that this morning again. So, little public service announcement. Also, this 10 o'clock hour is brought to you by Window Nation. Take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all style windows, plus make no down payment with no payments and no interest for 12 months. Call 866-90NATION or visit windownation.com. But because Mike's not here, we got Amy Fadul for all 4 hours. We got Ray Dunn as always. And clearly, I know some people are over the conversation talking about A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, but we have to address it because they addressed it yesterday. We heard from A.J. Brown at his locker. We heard from Jalen Hurts. In the first segment, I played them talking about their relationship, and both of them are trying to put it to bed, saying they got a lot of love for each other and everything's fine. But A.J. Brown also wanted to talk about what he meant when he said passing, because this is where this all started. They had a really bad game in the passing game, netted, I think, around 80 yards against the Carolina Panthers, coming off of a game against the Baltimore Ravens where, even though they won both games, the passing game has not looked effective. So he says passing, and he tried to describe at his locker yesterday what he meant by that. Ray, can you play A.J. Brown 4?
When he asked the question, what the offense can do better, obviously it's not running the ball. He's about to win MVP. Like, literally. So what other thing we do on offense? We have to pass the ball. And that can go into protection. That go picking up a block. That go to us getting open quicker, being on the same page, Jalen Reeves, or whatever the case may be. It's a collect group of things. And, I think they just kind of just spent it that way. And, and I said that for a reason, honestly, because, we went to the Super Bowl and lost. We tried again next year. We was 10 and whatever our record is, and it was landslide. Here we go again. And it's something that we can correct right now while we have the opportunity. And that's why I was bringing the awareness or bringing it to everybody's attention. It's something we can focus on. We know we can run the ball. Saquon's doing a great job. We're not against running the ball. We love Saquon. Ask him what I tell him at the end of the game. In the game. I'm okay with being whatever bad guy I have to be for the city, the town, whatever the case may be, for my team to be accountable and to get better.
So that was A.J. Brown. I got to say.
Very thoughtful answer.
I loved that answer.
It would have been really helpful if he'd said all that on Sunday.
Yes, it probably would have been helpful if he elaborated on
Instead
Sunday.
of just passing. Passing? Uh-huh. Okay.
But,
you care to elaborate? Nope. All right.
What he says here is kind of what we have been saying for the last couple of weeks is, yeah, they're winning football games, but when you have Super Bowl aspirations, you're going to be critical of areas that you can improve. And I don't think there's anyone that could look at the passing offense being 31st in the NFL and not say, yeah, you know what? That's an area that we can work on. It's just when you only give the one-word answer, as you said, people are left to use their own imagination.
Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely the vibe I got when I watched that sound on Sunday. It was like if you have a significant other and you ask them how they're doing and they say fine.
You know something's up.
They're not fine.
Ray, you listening to this?
They're not fine.
This is a happily married woman right here.
They say fine.
She's telling you, Ray, this could help you in the future. All right?
I'm here. This is my public service announcement. So when he says passing, and the follow-up is just a nod and a stare, and if someone follows up with are you sure you're fine? Mm-hmm. No, you're not. So I get it. He was frustrated. Anybody, as you mentioned, Bill, would be frustrated with the passing numbers that the Eagles are churning out because they've got 2-1 receivers, and they're not throwing the ball well. We've talked about him being a game manager and Jalen Hurts. I don't care about game. Jared Goff can be a game manager, and he throws the ball when he needs to. So it's just, I think that there's a lot of truth to what AJ said yesterday, and I think that that's the focus. And I think when you're talking about moving on, you're moving on with focusing on what he said. Listen, this is what I said. This is what I meant. Great. I'm going to take your word for it because he gave a very thoughtful answer. I think he's a very thorough and thoughtful guy when it comes to things like this. He's clearly thought about it. He probably realizes maybe I should have said a little bit more on Sunday and we wouldn't be here. Who knows? You can't. The cat's already out of the bag. Hindsight 2020, whatever you want to say. So I just thought all right, here you go. This is what he says he wants to focus on. So I'm going to go with that.
And I'm seeing on social media, I've heard a few people on the air talking about A.J. Brown as maybe using the word diva. I know Mike used the word diva before all this even happened, and he didn't mean it in a derogatory way, but a lot of times diva is used in a derogatory way, and we think of the Terrell Owens. We immediately go back to that whole situation. You've been around this team. Everything that I have heard about A.J. Brown is he's an extremely good teammate.
I've known people that covered him in Nashville and did like lengthy stories with him and kind of behind the scenes type of stuff. A very thoughtful teammate, well-respected guy, not just for his talent, but certainly the way he carries himself and operates and is in the locker room and outside of it. Just a high-quality human. I've always heard very good things. And I think Diva does have – but Jason Avant's a perfect example, a very down-to-earth guy. He's the first to tell you wide receivers are divas. We want the ball. That's the nature of it. Randy Moss, diva. Doesn't mean he's a bad dude, but I think that it can have a negative connotation because of T.O. and whatever else. But no, I've always heard very good things from people that have covered him in different markets as well.
Yeah, me also. And what was interesting that he said in there were a couple of things. He talked about last season, and he talked about the year before. We got to the Super Bowl. We lost. We were 10-1. And then there was a landslide. And if I have to be the bad guy, he says, to hold us accountable in areas we can improve, then so be it. And then he also changes his profile picture on all social media to the Joker. So he's now taken this role of, look, if I got to be the villain, I'll be the villain.
I'm fine with that.
But we're going to do everything we can to win a damn Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I think when you heard from Jalen Hurts, he echoed that sentiment. And listen, he just wants to win. And I think at the bottom line, they're doing whatever they can. And it's so funny to talk to people outside of Philadelphia, and they'll text me or call me and say, like, what is going on? You guys have won 9 in a row, and I was like, well, this is welcome to Philadelphia. This is how we rock. This is how we roll. But I think that it is something that they're both addressing. Like, it's the elephant in the room. They've talked about it. All right, we have to take them at their word. Like when you're presenting the question is, do we move on? Yeah, you do in a certain sense until something comes up again. But his point about it being all about the passing game and not being as efficient and effective, I think that's a valid one. And I thought that they both addressed that in the relationship. And they said, listen, he just wants to win. And AJ said the same thing. I just want to win. All right, then there you go. We're doing that. Check. Stop talking about it.
Yeah, stop talking about it. But we have to talk about it today since they addressed it yesterday.
Oh, of course.
And you just mentioned that Jalen Hurts also addressed the passing game and wanting to win. So coming up, I'm going to play some more clips from Jalen Hurts. We're going to bounce back and forth between AJ and Jalen. But there was another person that we heard from yesterday that really impressed me. It's a simple statement. It's only about a 10-second clip. But Jordan Mailata really showing some leadership. So we'll get into that when we come back as well. We'll get to your calls, your texts. We want to hear from you. Are you satisfied now? Is it over? Jalen spoke. AJ spoke. Jordan Mailata even spoke. Are you satisfied that the drama is over and we can move on? 610-632-0975. Keep it here. Great show. Till 2 o'clock. Talk to you soon.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Addressing the drama, I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Ace Hardware Home Services. Got a leaky pipe, having issues with your heat? At Ace Hardware Home Services, they're around the block with everything you need to fix it. They've got the pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services. Yesterday, we finally heard from Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and A.J. Brown on the dramatics following Brandon Graham's comments on Hurts and Brown on Monday. The group showed a unified front on Wednesday with the message that Hurts and Brown are good. The situation has been addressed. Here's Hurts addressing his relationship with A.J. Brown.
Sometimes things change as dynamics change, but for him, he knows I had a lot of love for him, just like I got a lot of love for all these guys. And ultimately, he's a guy that's a competitor. He wants to win. He damn sure wants the ball, and he wants to make an impact in the game, and I respect that.
So now we turn the attention to the matchup with the 10-3 Steelers at the Battle of Pennsylvania on Sunday. The game is at 4:25 at Lincoln Financial Field. Tonight at the Wells Fargo Center, Flyers host the Detroit Red Wings at 7 o'clock. You can hear the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Also, earlier this morning, Philadelphia City Council voted yes to move the Sixers' proposed arena out of council into a full vote next week to approve 76th place. We'll keep you updated on all things going on with that story as well. I'm Ray Dunn, the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Into the Mike Missanelli show. You got Bill Colarulo and Amy Fadul today with Ray Dunn. And if you were listening before the break, I have no idea what that was as I ended that segment. It was like I was leaving a voicemail on somebody's phone. Tell them to call me back.
All you need is leave your number again.
Yeah.
Call me back, 610-632.
You get distracted. I haven't sat in this main seat. Yeah, I haven't sat in this main seat in a while. It's a different vibe. I'm sitting here. I'm reading the YouTube chat. I got live reads. I'm like, I almost left my phone number there. Call me back.
Call me back.
On my cell.
Or I'll see you soon. Either way.
Well, obviously, there's a lot to discuss today with AJ and Jalen addressing the media. We're going to be playing clips from both of their media availability yesterday throughout the show. And I liked what they had to say. I really don't know how they could have handled this any better. And I know there's people out there who feel that it was kind of contrived and it wasn't real or authentic. I didn't get that, even though I think that they clearly spoke to a PR staff and they had a unified message. I thought that they handled it better than any of us could have expected them to handle it. I'm not sure what else they could have done to address it, but the bigger question is, can we put it behind us now? So want to hear from you on that, 610-632-0975. Ray, have we gotten some texts on this to start the show?
Yeah, some people reacted to at least what they heard yesterday. Frank from Mount Laurel. Bill, I am so tired of Jalen talking about finding a rhythm. Really good quarterback shouldn't still be trying to find it in Week 14 when he has the number 1 rushing attack, best offensive line, top 5 wide receiver, top 15 wide receiver, top 10, 15 tight end, and number 1 defense. Sam Darnold dropped in Week 1 is on pace to have a great season, as good or as close as Jalen has had in 3 years. He's also played for 6 different coordinators in 6 seasons. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I mean, it's hard to argue with 45-19 with Jalen Hurts. I mean, all the guy does is win. That's what he does. He wins. So I've been critical of him, Amy. I don't know if you've listened this week. I have been critical of Jalen Hurts, and I think that the reason that any of this even started was because the passing game hasn't looked great. And the 1 year, to talk about the changing of coordinators, the 1 year where we know he had the same offensive coordinator, and Shane Steichen was 2022. And that was his MVP caliber season. So should we be giving him a little bit of a pass that this is another new coordinator? It's another new passing offense. It's new schemes, new concepts. With Jason Kelce retiring, we know that Hurts is now a little bit more responsible for some of the blitz protections at the line of scrimmage. Are we being too hard on Jalen?
At this point, I think that you can't use those as excuses, right? I mean, you've won 9 straight games. The offense has been tailored to you as a quarterback. I feel like that ship sailed 4 weeks into the season when you still saw some of it. Like, all right, well, I get it. There's always going to be – the thing is, there's always going to be someone that says he can't do this or I don't like the way – you know what I mean? Like, I don't like the way he does this. And then there's going to be someone that backs it up saying, well, it's because of that. All right, that's fine. But at this point in the season, I don't think you can have – I don't think it's a fair assessment to say – his struggles are because of having somebody new again. Not at this point in the season. Everybody's had the same time to get on the same page. And even if their scheme is different, your players are the same as they were, right? You still have A.J. Brown. You still have Devontae Smith.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, now that you have Saquon Barkley.
It's even better.
Yeah, you would think that would help the passing game because teams now have to worry about stopping him. Well, one of the theories that kept getting thrown around about Jalen is it looks like he may be a little gun shy because he's afraid to turn the ball over. So he's not throwing those 50-50 balls that he used to throw. He's a little bit hesitant to throw over the middle because he doesn't want to turn it over. Well, he was asked about that yesterday, saying, are the turnovers affecting you from throwing the ball downfield? Ray, can you play us Hurts 3?
I think from a macro view, you got to be able to saturate yourself in something to say this is who we are and this is what we're going to do. Things change as dynamics change. And the dynamic of our team has changed. We had a great addition in Saquon Barkley, and he's been able to impact his team in a tremendous way. And, we've always been able to run the ball at a high level. He's taken that to the next level. And so it hasn't changed the main thing. Ultimately, we're looking at a piece of our game that we need to be better at. Being critical of ourselves, we need to be better at, but ultimately we're still doing what we need to do. And so there's always this ongoing challenge in that. But ultimately, there's a different team every year, different dynamics every year. You have different coaches, different voices, and different visions. And so ultimately, we want to come together and try and find the best common ground to go out there and be successful for the team.
So, look, I think Jalen is kind of taking accountability here, though.
Yeah.
He's saying, look, the dynamics has changed.
We've got Saquon.
Yeah, you have Saquon now. And I still keep going back to they are winning. I've been very critical, too, of the passing game, but they are winning games, and that should be all that matters.
They won 9 straight games. I mean, they've clinched their playoff spot. They're setting up with one more win. The division's theirs. Like, what are we doing? But the thing is, I think what's creeping back, and it's nothing to do with last year so much, is that just the nature of the NFL. It's a passing league. You see the teams that are winning the Super Bowl, that are winning in the playoffs. They're not running the ball as their primary offense. And it doesn't mean that you can't do it, but I think that's where like people start to think, well, I need him to be better. I need him to be better, whether it's more efficient, whether it is throwing up a 50-50 ball. Because I mentioned Jared Goff. The numbers actually are very similar, except for one very glaring one. Jared Goff has like 10 more touchdowns. So it's like Jared Goff's probably a game manager, right? He sometimes only throw the ball 18, 19 times a game, but also convert 17 or 18 of those.
Yeah, because if you look, I know there are people who say, well, the Eagles don't throw the ball a lot, so therefore that's why they sit at 31st in passing. Well, yes, they throw the ball less than anyone in the NFL. Eagles are 32nd in pass attempts. The Lions, though, are 23rd in pass attempts, so they're not throwing the ball a lot either, but yet they have a top 4 passing offense where the Eagles are 31st.
Well, they're efficient and they score.
They're efficient and they score. You're right. And they're averaging 244 passing yards a game, whereas right now, what are the Eagles averaging? They're 32nd. I got these numbers here. Eagles are averaging 181. I mean, that's just, you see that number.
I think that's where like the people are like, yeah, like I get why the passing game is a concern because that's not sustainable in the playoffs. You're not going to win a lot of games. Everything tightens up, and if you're already tight and you're already limited, like it's how much tighter is it going to get for you, right? So an offense that probably averages 260 yards or something in the playoffs, that number is going to drop. That's just the nature of the beast because of the way that the level of competition is going to be. So if you're already at 180, what's it going to go down to?
Yeah, you'd hope it's not going to go down. I mean, look, they're still sitting there at the top 7 in total offense, but it's because the running game's been so effective.
And they're the second best team record-wise in the entire NFL.
It's just the concern is if the goal is Super Bowl.
Can you win this way?
Can you win this way?
And can you win with a quarterback, as you mentioned, that seems reluctant at times to throw up a ball? We've all seen it. We've all seen the tapes of where A.J. Brown was and where he wasn't, and where the ball wasn't, I should say. It wasn't anywhere near him, and he had a 50-yard. He would have been a 50-yard gain. Instead, you saw a 2-yard gain. So that's where, and you said it. Jalen Hurts addressed it. Listen, the dynamic, and they're going to have to adjust. And I think they've done a good job adjusting so far, and they're going to have to keep adjusting. And I think that you'll see. I don't know if this is the week you want to try it out against this defense. Maybe wait a week. I don't know if against this defense with Minkah Fitzpatrick and T.J. Watt. Some of those guys. Herbig. I don't know if this is the week, but it's something kind of put a feather in it. We'll address it.
So here's my biggest worry is I do think they handled it well yesterday with the media. I do think that we can put this behind us. But if you come out this Sunday and you're going up against the Steelers defense like you just mentioned that has T.J. Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick, and they're a top 7 defense in terms of yards against. They're top 5 in terms of points against. And maybe even more importantly, they're top 4 in rushing yards against. So if the Steelers come out and they put a heavy focus on stopping Saquon Barkley and they're able to shut down this Eagles rushing attack, and now Jalen and the passing game are forced to win the game, and it doesn't happen, and Jalen doesn't perform at a high level, does all of this drama from this week now come back? That's why I think it's so important, even though this game may not matter necessarily for the standings, and I'm not even sure it matters if they win. It matters how they look, especially in the passing offense, because you don't want all of this to come back. But we want to hear from you. We got a full board here of people wanting to weigh in on the Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown situation. Let me go to Ephraim from Philly. What's up, Ephraim? You're on the Fanatic.
Hey, man. How y'all doing? I'm doing all right. I'm doing good. How y'all been? How y'all want to do?
Good.
So what do you got on Jalen Hurts and A.J., man?
So when he talked about, the things changing and dynamics change, I think he was talking more so about, like, their play together, right? Because, like last year, he was able to feed AJ the ball, consistently, in a lot more attempts, right? Whereas now, he has to really make up for the little attempts he has, right? So if you throw the ball 20 times, you got to give the ball to AJ at least 8, or look at him at least 8 now. Like, and the thing with AJ, why he's so frustrated is, like, I only have minimal opportunities. And he talked about this before, if y'all recall. Remember, he talked about how he said, when I catch the ball now every time I catch it, I'm just making the most out of it because I know I'm not going to get as many opportunities anymore. I don't know if you guys remember that, but he talked about that. So I think when Jalen Hurts talked about the dynamics, things change, dynamics change, I think that's kind of what he's talking about. So now, obviously, we're a run-heavy team, right? So there's not many opportunities anymore. So, but I do think that everything is cool, though. I think it's water under the bridge. I really don't think it's really that. I don't think it's a McNabb and T.O. situation. Let's say that. I don't think it's that bad.
I agree.
I really don't. I don't think it's that bad. But
yeah. So if Ephraim's ready to move on, and see, I don't think he's wrong that it may be water under the bridge. But back to my point, and I see some people weighing in on YouTube with this. When I said it's not as important if they win or lose, clearly winning and losing is important. My point about this Sunday, though, is if they lose the game, but the passing offense is efficient, the passing offense looks good, and they lose a close game to a Pittsburgh Steelers team, I don't think any of this drama creeps back in. They lost a tight game to a good opponent. But where the drama would creep back in is if the passing game looks inept again. Even if they win the game. If they win the game and Jalen and the offense throws for 82 net yards again, I don't think this conversation goes away. But on the same flip side of that, if they lose a tight game, but the passing offense is firing on all cylinders, AJ has over 100 yards, Jalen looks good, not turns the ball over, I don't think we revisit, are AJ and Jalen okay?
Yeah, are they still on the same page? Yeah, I don't know that you would talk about that. Winning is the most important thing. And again, this isn't the game that I'm going to use as a measuring stick for if they're back on track. I think this is a very tough game. I think this one is just you get in, you get the win, and you get out. Let's worry about that against a team that you can maybe air it out against. I don't want him playing cowboy out there and like throwing the ball willy-nilly to try to prove a point. I don't think that's Jalen Hurts anyway.
Yeah.
I think there's other quarterbacks, around the league that might be that type of, petty maybe. He's not that. Jalen Hurts is not that guy. He's not going to air it out just for the sake of like, I told you guys that I'd give AJ Brown the ball, and look what happened. That's not him. But I just feel like.
But do they feel the pressure to do it? Like maybe not Jalen, because Kellen spoke.
I think there was pressure to get Devontae back involved to the detriment of AJ last week, because there was the touchdown to Devontae easily could have been an AJ Brown one. Where
Jalen doesn't pull the trigger. He actually throws the harder pass to Devontae where it looked like AJ was open on the slant.
And I'm fine with, because if you look at it from the kind of macro, to use Jalen Hurts' word, you need to get him back involved. He had missed some time. You need to get him back on the same page as everybody. Maybe you do force feed him a little bit. And we've seen that, but Devontae Smith has had these conversations out in the media before, not getting the ball as much. What happens? The next week, guarantee what he's going to get. That happened last year.
Yeah. Yeah, and Kellen said, when Kellen Moore spoke to the media, which was that, yesterday, Ray? Or was it on Tuesday, Kellen spoke to the media, and he said, we need to increase the likelihood of AJ getting the ball in the passing game. So I hope they don't come out and necessarily think we need to force feed it, but they got to do something. They got to do something. You can't average 82 yards. In the last 2 weeks, 97.5 yards. But let's hope this is behind us. We still want to hear from you. Let's go to the phones. I'm going to go to Sean because he wants this drama put to rest. What's up, Sean? You're on the Fanatic.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think once two grown men say, hey, we're good, and they say it publicly, at that time it's like time to put it to rest. But you're right. Like, if you come out and it's another bad performance and it's 100 yards throwing, really the conversation now has to turn to how to get Jalen. First of all, I love Jalen. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great teammate. I think he's a good quarterback. I want to see him be a great quarterback. And the only way to see him be a great quarterback is to be a balanced quarterback. So I definitely am rooting for him to succeed, not just for the Eagles, but for him, because I think he deserves it. But, AJ's not innocent. You know, he was throwing his helmet. He was making a scene. And when you do that, of course, people are going to recognize it and start asking the questions as to what's going on with him. So I'm glad they put it to rest professionally. They did it the right way. And I'm just looking for the answer of how we're going to balance this attack, you know, this running attack. Which, I mean, could you ever imagine we'd be talking about how are we going to pass the ball more?
I know last year fans were literally chanting run the ball at Lincoln Financial Field in unison. But, Sean, the thing is for me is you need to be balanced. That was why fans wanted the Eagles to run the football, because they wanted a balance. And now it's gone to the complete opposite, where you're literally in the bottom of the league in passing. I don't think anyone's suggesting they need to throw the ball 40 times a game. It's just that we need to see the passing offense more effective, because if in the playoffs the rushing attack gets shut down, you want to be able to have that balance where if you have to pass it, you can. And right now, over the last couple of weeks, it just looks like something's off.
Guys, you have a great day.
Thank you, Sean, for checking in. Ray, what do we got on the text board on this? People ready to move on from this drama?
People are ready to see drama itself go away. Mike from Phoenixville feels like it's been one thing after another. Since we won the Super Bowl in 2017, it's just been one thing after another. After the first, it feels like the whole Wentz thing. Then we got the different pieces from the media last year, then the debacle at the end of last year, 2-2 start, Slay going on the Cowboys podcast, talking crap on CJ, GJ. Now this whole thing, Brandon Graham throwing in his 2 cents. I just hope the winning is there, and we don't get too concerned with all this stuff.
I mean, the winning is there. They've won 9 straight games. But I hear what he's saying. We've talked a lot more about nonsense. You know what they're not doing in Kansas City?
Talking about stuff like this?
You know what they're not doing in Detroit?
Yeah. What else you got on the text board, Ray? Something similar, you said?
Tony from East Norton. I think everyone is blowing the Jalen and AJ commentary way out of proportion. Players are always going to be unhappy at certain things, especially wide receivers, and not going to get along 100% of the time, no matter what the record. This is not a bump in the road. Eagles are still Super Bowl caliber and the most talented roster in the NFL.
See, this is why this even came up, Amy, before AJ spoke to the media. We talked about it on the show last week, that when you look at the history of the last 15 years of Super Bowl winners, 14 out of 15 had a top 15 passing offense. No team in the last 15 seasons that led the league in rushing won a Super Bowl. So even though we love to say, oh, this team's built for January, they run the football, they're physical, they got a strong defense, well, then how come no team in the last 15 years has won a Super Bowl that way other than one? The Seattle Seahawks in 2013. You got to go back now 11 years. Mm-hmm. They won with the 26th ranked passing offense, but they had a strong defense, the Legion of Boom, and they had a top 4 rushing attack.
Well, they had a very average quarterback at the time.
Russell Wilson?
Yeah, I think he was an average. I think he's an average quarterback.
Well, and back then, too, they were 26th in passing. He became even more than that after. He's right. And we're going to see him again this weekend, average. Ironically.
And now he's back to average.
Yeah, now he's back to average. Although we did have a 400-yard game the other day. When was the last time we saw that from
and it was good. That was a good Jalen. It was impressive because of them not having Pickens. I thought that was maybe the more impressive part of it, for them to have those kind of numbers.
So you mentioned Russell Wilson as an average quarterback. I don't necessarily disagree, but something that keeps coming up that I want to get into coming up is that all Jalen Hurts does is win. And the question I want to ask you and I want to ask our listeners, are wins a quarterback stat? Because I want to get into that. Jalen Hurts, 45-19 in his career, and all he does is win. That's what we keep talking about. But is that necessarily a quarterback stat? So we'll have that conversation. I still want your reactions to what you heard from AJ and Jalen. Are you ready to move on? 610-632-0975. We'll be back right back. Good morning, everybody. 11:01 here on the Mike Missanelli Show. No Mikey missed today. But you get Bill Ray and Amy Fadul today. Obviously, we're talking a lot of Eagles, hoping that the drama can finally be put to bed after AJ and Jalen both addressed the media yesterday. But Nick Sirianni also addressed the media earlier in the day. And there's been a lot of discussion about this. Hell yeah. There's been a lot of discussion about this passing offense, and is it good enough? And what a lot of people want to go back to is, well, yeah, look, they've won 9 in a row. They're 11-2. They're one of the best teams in the NFC. Who cares how you're winning as long as you're winning? And when Nick Sirianni spoke about Jalen Hurts, one of the things that he wanted to remind everybody was Jalen Hurts' win-loss record. So this was Nick Sirianni talking about Jalen Hurts yesterday.
He's taking care of the football at an outstanding rate. He's accurate with the football. He's been able to make plays with his feet as as things break down or something not open. So he's done so many good things. The thing that doesn't get said enough about Jalen Hurts is he's 45-19 over the past 4 years. Like, that's pretty darn special. And so do we all have things to get better at in the passing game? Yeah, I think that's obvious. I think that's what we've been talking about. We all have things that we got to get better at. It takes every single person being together. It's just not a one-person thing. And so we're all working to get better. We've had some moments of being good. We've had some moments of not needing it. We've had some moments where we haven't been good enough. I think that's very, all those things are true, right? Moments of being very good, moments of not needing it at all, where we haven't done it very much because we hadn't needed it in that game, and moments where we need to be better. But I think that's the nature of this game of football.
So here's where I'm torn. So Sirianni says in there when talking about Jalen, one thing that doesn't get talked about enough is he's 45-19. But then in the same clip, he says, this takes everybody. It's not just a one-person thing. So I know a lot of times we go to the win-loss record on quarterbacks, but there are people who say it should not be a quarterback stat because of what Nick Sirianni just said. It's not a one-person thing. So when we look at Jalen and we look at how he struggled in the passing game, do you think that we should be saying, yeah, but all he does is win?
It's so funny because the flip side of that is, he doesn't get all the wins, but he sure as hell is going to get all the losses.
Well, now
you know what I mean? Like, that's exactly what it is. The quarterbacks are going to get most of the praise, and they're going to get almost all of the loss, almost all of the cons.
And this is why I do think quarterbacks should get credit for the wins. I do think that it should be a QB stat.
All the blame is going to be with them.
Because, well, here's what I think when you look at the history of the NFL. Good quarterbacks may lose a lot of games if their team isn't very good. But bad quarterbacks over an extended period of time will not win a lot of games. And I know there's outliers where Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl, and he was an average quarterback at best. Brad Johnson, Jimmy Garoppolo, not a great quarterback, won a lot of games in San Francisco. But I think when you look at a big sample size, bad quarterbacks are not going to win a lot of football games. So good quarterbacks may lose, but in order for you to have that many wins, and when you see Jalen Hurts' record of 45-19, I think that's a big enough sample size to say, yeah, that is a quarterback stat. Yeah. That is Jalen Hurts' stat. But if there's anyone that disagrees with that, are wins a quarterback stat? I do want to hear from you on that because I've had people argue that, no, Jalen shouldn't get credit for 45-19. Look at all the weapons he has around him. Look at all the players he has on this football team.
He still has to find them to. He touches the ball more than anybody else, save the center. He affects the game in a way, as a quarterback affects the game in a way that no one else does. That's just the nature of the beast.
And Jalen does have that ability to change a game with his legs. Like, even last week against the Panthers, he had that big 35-yard run, led to a touchdown. We've seen him have that ability. Yes, I've been critical of him in the passing game. I want the passing game to improve because I want this team to win a Super Bowl. But, yeah, we can't ignore the wins. And I pulled up the list of the all-time wins leaders at the quarterback position in NFL history. Every one of these guys is a Hall of Famer. You got Tom Brady.
I mean, he played forever.
Brett Favre.
Forever.
Peyton Manning.
Forever.
Drew Brees.
Almost forever.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Not as long.
Aaron Rodgers.
Still playing.
John Elway. Dan Marino. Phillip Rivers. Matt Ryan. Fran Tarkenton. I mean, is the top 10 right there in all-time wins. And you're right, when you say they've played forever, I also don't think bad quarterbacks would last.
They won, and they also won. Those are all very winning quarterbacks, right? And obviously the stat says that. But I mean, their teams were winning. They were very successful in the postseason. These quarterbacks, the reason they played so long is because they were winning all those games and they were winning in the postseason. It wasn't just, like Phillip Rivers. He just played a long time. He didn't win a lot in the postseason. Do you blame that on him? Maybe. I mean, if it's truly going to be a win-loss tied to the quarterback, he had some very good regular season games. They just were never able to get over the hump. I mean, was that a team thing? So I think that's where the kind of question lies is why on a really good team does a good quarterback, does he make that much of a difference and get them over the top? Probably. If it's a really good team, like you mentioned Trent Dilfer being an outlier, that defense was obviously all world. They had a decent running back. That's why they won those games. They had a great kicker because that's how they scored.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. They're always going to be tied together, but I think it's too black and white to say it's just a quarterback stat when it's not a quarterback stat. I mean, it wins and loss. There's obviously nuances of it.
You just mentioned great kicker. The only player on the Eagles who's probably happy with all the Jalen drama is Jake Elliott.
Don't look over here.
Yeah, nobody's talking about Jake Elliott.
Don't look over here.
And we could have a lot. If this didn't happen, he would probably have been the big topic of conversation. But, Ray, what do you think? I want you to weigh in on this. Are wins a QB stat?
I think it's a QB stat to the extent of the credit they get for it. Like how much you were driving force of those victories. The one reason I haven't been able to quit Jalen Hurts and the one reason I keep coming back is you watch a game, you can be frustrated with the first half of the way he plays, and the second half there's like 3 or 4 plays he makes, and it's like, yeah, that defined the victory offensively. Like they were able to get that win because, hey, he scrambled for 30 yards, or hey, he made that pass on the third down that ended up moving the ball there. And maybe it's not necessarily the sexiest way of playing quarterback. Like I think we had this conversation on pregame when I filled in for Connor about Joe Burrow. Like a lot of sexy losses for him this year. Like there are a lot of games where it's like this guy threw for this many yards, this many touchdowns. He made some great plays. They lost the football game. Is that all on him? No. But when it comes to Jalen Hurts and what he has with this team, he does what he needs to do to get them to win the football game. And as disappointed as I was with the way Sunday went, you still had the big run late in that game. You still had plays made that it was like, yeah, he's done enough to put you in a position to win that football game. Even when it seems like he has his worst game, they're still in a position to win the football game.
Yeah. He's playing winning football.
He is, but to your point, you mentioned Joe Burrow. Well, the Bengals are 5-8. The Eagles are 11-2. If you had your choice of who could quarterback the Philadelphia Eagles, you'd probably go with Burrow, even though he's 5-8 this year and Jalen's 11-2.
Absolutely, but what Amy said about Hurts getting credit for the losses, like the guy can't be, 0-19 as the starting quarterback and the team be 45-0.
Right.
Like at some point, he does have to get his slice of the pie. And I think while you look at this season, you look at what Saquon Barkley gets. Like he gets a large slice of the pie of what's going on. This top-ranked defense gets a lot. More this season should be given in credit to other people other than Jalen Hurts. But that's not to discredit the credit that Hurts deserves for where they are right now. Yeah, so it's a partial thing for me. I can't just say it's not a quarterback stat, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's the ultimate quarterback stat because there's obviously things we look at more than just winning.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Not the ultimate quarterback stat, but you can't be a bad quarterback and win that many games because you're just not going to last. But good quarterbacks can lose games. But I want to get to my favorite caller. Calls us every day. Usually knows his stuff, Amy. My man Ish is ready to move on from the drama. Ish, what's going on, my brother?
Hey guys, how are you? Hi, Amy.
Hi, Ish.
I'm just ready to move on and tell you the truth. I think we addressed it yesterday. We haven't talked about the Steelers this week. We have a big game coming up. I'm just ready to move on.
So, but I know we're ready to move on. You're, as a fan, is ready to move on. Do you think the team's okay? You think they can put this behind them and everything's going to be fine?
Yeah, we're fine. Yeah. We're fine. And it's, I have something to say to Ray. Ray, it was raining yesterday. I heard you had your little snow boots on.
Ish,
little snow boots?
Ish, you have to understand who has the power here. I can see you on the line before you get on the air. If you want to keep talking to me like this, it'll be very easy.
Don't you let him
whether or
bully
not you get
Ish.
on the air.
You keep bringing it, Ish. Don't you let him bully you.
Little snow boots.
But Ish, I want to ask you one thing because you said you want to focus on the Steelers. Do you have any concerns at all that if Jalen in the passing game doesn't look great against the Steelers, that some of this drama can resurface next week?
Yeah, of course, yeah. That's only if how we win. So I believe I believe we'll get through it. I believe, it's going to be like last year. AJ is going to get the ball more. Devontae is going to get the ball more. And Dotson need to get the ball more, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, a lot of people keep asking about Jahan Dotson. He hasn't done much since he's gotten here. Now, is that a reflection of Dotson, or is it just passing game hasn't been great and there's only so many passes to go around when you're throwing the ball 19 times?
I mean, if I'm the quarterback and I've played with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith before, and I know I'm only going to get so many targets out there. Sorry, Jahan, you're fifth on my list, behind Saquon Barkley and behind whoever's playing tight end at that point too.
What surprised me
Sorry.
though with Jahan,
that's
but
the nature of the beast.
But what
Johnny
surprised
Wilson
me,
might get a touch before you do, dude.
AJ missed some time. Devontae's missed some time. Now Dallas is missing.
And you
some
saw
time.
Johnny Wilson get a touch before.
Yeah, you're not really seeing Dotson. That's been disappointing because we were all excited when they signed him or made the trade for him, I should say.
Real quick here on Ish. I just want to put this out there. Ish, your boy right now with this passing offense and the drama surrounding him, I would take more time to think about Hurts than think about what I'm wearing out in the rain. All right? I don't appreciate Ish trying to deflect from the issues really at hand to talk about what's going on with me.
You see how easy it is to get under Ray's skin?
It's so great.
I love it.
Remember the little snippet.
I'm just happy that his anger is directed towards the caller and not me.
You were supporting Ish right there, so don't think you're off the hook on this one, Colarulo.
Did you know this, Amy? People are asking, does Ray not like Bill? That's kind of what the vibe is that he gives out every day.
Interesting.
That he doesn't like me. You believe this?
I don't believe that.
All I do is care about Ray, stick up for him all the time, never, ever make fun of him.
Dumbass question.
All right. Speaking of dumbass questions, there's something I want to get into when we get back. And that's this rumor that's going around Philadelphia. One, the Sixers arena was approved. So it looks like that. Kind of. We'll talk about it.
Don't spread out false
Through
information
counsel.
there, guys.
Yeah, kind of approved.
Whatever.
But there's another potential new stadium coming. This is the rumor. With the Philadelphia Eagles potentially being able to host Super Bowls and everything else. I want to get into it coming up next.
Philadelphia 76ers back.
With Amy Fadul today. Ray Dunn behind the glass, as always. Blasting the music in my ear to start to. What do you like this song, Ray?
It's like a little emo pop.
No, I just had it the same setting that every song coming back comes on. But yeah, sure. Whatever you think about the music.
Yeah. So a lot on the table today. We're talking obviously about Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, even Nick Sirianni, all addressing the big elephant in the room, Brandon Graham's comments on Monday night, talking about the personal relationship between Jalen and A.J. And stop blaming the Philly media. This took on a life of its own. It went national. It was big news. We had to talk about it. We have to continue to talk about it. But we're hopeful that with Hurts and A.J. addressing it yesterday, that we can turn the page and put the drama to bed. So we want to hear from you on that. We'll continue to play clips from both of their interviews yesterday. But then we also started to talk about, are wins a quarterback stat? Because what we keep hearing about Jalen Hurts is, yeah, the numbers may not look great. The passing numbers aren't great. They're 31st in the NFL in passing, but they're 11-2. And you look at Jalen Hurts in his career, he's 45-19. So are wins a quarterback stat? Now, what I wanted to get into, that I said before the break, was some of the rumors about a new football arena or stadium or dome coming to South Philadelphia. But before we do that, unfortunately,
or fortunately,
depending on how you look at it, Ray, we got something else that we have to do because it's 11:22 almost. So I want to get back to the conversation about that in just a second. So we're going to put that on hold about what the rumors are. Jeffrey Lurie sold 8% of his $8.3 billion team, which is just mind-blowing. And that the reason why could be he wants a retractable roof stadium down in South Philly. So host Super Bowls and other events. So we'll get into that in a second. But, Ray, what do we have coming up right now?
All right. Right now, Michael Westwood, who joins Kincade and Salciunas every week. Today, they were unable to get to Michael during the program, so we got the chance to get you some picks, some winners from GBIWins.com. So you get a chance to listen to Kincade and Salciunas talking with Michael Westwood about the slate coming up this weekend.
All right, let's head to the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. We speak to this man every single week at this time, and I love it. He just keeps on killing it week in and week out. Our man Michael Westwood from GBIWins.com. Make sure you call the free recorded line, 1-800-885-2525. Again, 1-800-885-2525. Michael, good morning. How are we today?
What's happening, fellas? Listen, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to address me as Michael Westwood, the bookie Terminator, because once again, last Thursday, we won again, which brings our record to an astounding 12-2.
12-2?
12-2, baby. Heading into tonight, I've got some tremendous information on this Thursday night NFC West game between the Rams and the 49ers, and I'm going to give it out once again, as I do every single Thursday, absolutely free on my free recorded comp line. All you have to do, listeners, is dial 1-800-885-2525. That's 1-800-885-2525. You'll be connected to my free recorded hotline where you're going to get my winner this evening of the Niners playing the Rams. Guys, the line is way, way off right now, and I'm going to go one step further. If for some unknown reason I lose this game, which is not going to happen, I am going to give you my whole bowl season on me. And guys, you know, last year in the bowls, I was 34-6.
Telling you, that is a great number to have. And I can tell you, too, Thursday Night Football, for a lot of people, is a sketchy time. They haven't looked into it. They've been working all week. You've been studying this stuff all week long, so we don't have to.
You know what, guys? 40 years in the sports handicapping business, I learned how to beat the bookmakers against the point spread on any given game day. I just don't give out games to give out games. I don't throw dart at a dartboard. I've been doing this forever. There's a lot of logic that goes into this, a lot of studying. Tonight is one of those nights that I am going to win once again. The Rams playing the 49ers this evening. It is absolutely incredible, and I'm going to invite you again. It's absolutely free on my free recorded hotline, 1-800-885-2525. Again, 1-800-885-2525. 2525. And if you call me right now, my first 250 callers are also going to get Sunday's football game. Pittsburgh playing the Eagles. It's free. It's on me, and it's on my free recorded comp line.
See, all you want to do is give money to the people. And what the people just need to do is call 1-800-885-2525. Again, you would get the game for tonight, Rams and Niners. But the first 250, as you just heard Michael mention, would also get our game that we're paying attention to between the Steelers and Eagles. So call 1-800-885-2525.
Once again, this evening is free. It's on me. All you have to do right now is dial 1-800-885-2525. Again, 1-800-885-2525. It's on my recorded comp line. When I go 2-0 or I go 1-0 this evening and then give you the free game for Sunday, that Eagles-Pittsburgh game, you'll see what I'm all about. Reach out to me. Get involved with my firm. But once again, tonight is free. It's on me, and it's going to be another winner.
Tonight is free. Again, Michael Westwood of GBIWins.com. Give a call to 1-800-885-2525 for the picks. Getting a chance to hear from tonight and, of course, the game on Sunday. Again, Michael Westwood of GBIWins.com. 1-800-885-2525 as we get you set for a fun weekend, a fun slate, a lot of great picks for you. One thing to remind you, 11 o'clock hour here on the Mike Missanelli Show is brought to you by Grungo Law, your law firm when you need help because of an injury. Pray for peace, prepare for trial. GrungoLaw.com.
Thank you, Raymond. All right, so what I want to get into, because there's been a lot on the table today, there's a lot of news going on in the city of Philadelphia. We may even have to get some Phillies talk in later on in the show because they haven't done anything yet. I know fans are getting frustrated. But Jeffrey Lurie yesterday, he sells 8% of the Philadelphia Eagles franchise. This had been reported before, but it was finalized yesterday at a valuation of $8.3 billion. Not a bad investment from Jeffrey Lurie, who when he bought the team was, what, like 100-something million? What did he buy the team for?
A little bit more than that. But, yeah, I mean, not a billion. Did not start with a B.
Did not have a B. But more importantly, the bigger news that came from that is there's a rumor going around the city right now that the reason that Jeffrey Lurie may have sold 8% is because he's trying to raise money for the Philadelphia Eagles to bring a new stadium to South Philadelphia that would have a retractable roof. So, in essence, a dome to South Philly. And what that would do is it would allow for Super Bowls to be here. It would allow for a lot of other events, maybe some bowl games, college bowl games. Who knows what they would do here? So, want to throw out the question, and we'll talk about it coming up next. How would you feel about a dome in South Philadelphia? We'll get into it all. Keep it here.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Pressing the drama, I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Macy's Backstage. Macy's Backstage has amazing deals on the holidays' most fun gifts. Get low prices every day on unique finds in-store only at Macy's Backstage. Find a location near you at macy'sbackstage.com. Off price, on trend, arriving daily. Yesterday, we finally heard from Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and A.J. Brown on the dramatics following Brandon Graham's comments on Hurts and Brown on Monday. The group showed a unified front on Wednesday with a message that Hurts and Brown are good and that the situation has been addressed. Here's Hurts addressing his relationship with A.J. Brown.
You know, sometimes things change as dynamics change, but for him, he knows I have a lot of love for him, just like I got a lot of love for all these guys. And ultimately, he's a guy that's a competitor. You know, he wants to win. He damn sure wants the ball, and he wants to make an impact in the game, and I respect that.
Now we turn the attention to the matchup with the 10-3 Steelers at a Battle of Pennsylvania on Sunday. The game is at 4:25 at Lincoln Financial Field. Tonight at the Wells Fargo Center, the Flyers host the Detroit Red Wings at 7 o'clock. You can hear the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Also, earlier this morning, Philadelphia City Council voted yes to move the Sixers' proposed arena out of committee and to a full vote next week in order to approve 76th place. I'm Ray Dunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Everybody, the Mike Missanelli Show. You got Bill Colarulo and Amy Fadul, Ray Dunn behind the glass. No Mike today. He'll be back with us tomorrow. If you were listening to the show yesterday, Mike's taking care of something very important that everybody should do as they get older and get to that age is colonoscopy, Aim. We got to make sure we protect our health. Health is the most important thing, so hopefully everything works out well for our man Mike. We miss him today, but he'll be back tomorrow. But there's a lot on the table today, obviously, with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown addressing the media yesterday after the firestorm that was created by Brandon Graham and the words of A.J. after the game. I know people want to say it was the media. It was not the media that blew this up, okay? This was something that needed to be addressed. When a teammate goes on to the media and says there's a personal problem between Jalen and A.J. that needs to be fixed, of course we're going to talk about it. But I thought that the Eagles did a great job yesterday addressing it. It started with the head coach at his press conference before practice. It continued with A.J. Brown's locker room availability. It continued with Jalen Hurts' press conference last night. Amy was there for both of those things. I thought they did a very good job of addressing the situation, but also being honest and truthful about what was going on. Now, I don't think they got into the details, nor should they have, about whatever the personal issues were, but they said, we're good. We got a lot of love for each other. The focus is on winning. And I loved what A.J. Brown had to say about how, look, I'm going to hold the team accountable in areas that I think need to improve. And that's why he mentioned the passing game. But we'll get back to that because I know a lot of people want to move on from it, but I want to hear from you if you think that it is over, 610-632-0975. And I want to focus on another Eagles topic. So Jeffrey Lurie has finalized a sale of the franchise of 8%. Now, the franchise was valued at a whopping $8.3 billion. So when you do the math, 8% is $664 million. And what did he buy it for, Aim?
$195 million, which would have been about $400 million.
Not a bad little investment. So he's already $200 million up in his pocket. But there's a rumor circulating, and this is what I want to talk about. The rumor circulating is that the Eagles are interested in potentially bringing a retractable dome stadium to South Philadelphia. It's just a rumor. It is just a rumor. But the reason that this rumor has some legs is it looks like there's about 8 years left on the Eagles' lease down in South Philadelphia. At that point, Lincoln Financial Field would be 30 years old. And you know when you don't have a retractable roof, it's extremely, extremely unlikely that you'll ever get a Super Bowl here. I know they had it in New York. It was a disaster. It snowed before the game and the week leading up to it. It was a big disaster. I doubt the NFL will ever make that mistake again unless you have a retractable roof. I am all for it, man. If the Eagles could bring a dome to South Philadelphia, I know there are the traditionalists out there who think that the NFL and football should be played no matter the weather, and they love the cold weather, they love the snow. You put a retractable roof stadium in South Philly, sign me up, Amy.
Yeah, it obviously would change the dynamic a lot for Eagles games and how that would work. But I think that the payoff is so much greater for, like you mentioned, bowl games, potentially a Super Bowl, which would be amazing because they're not going to have it in a my voice is going. They're not going to have it in a northern city again without a dome. I think they learned their lesson from the Meadowlands.
The one at MetLife Stadium was a disaster. But it would just be so cool. I mean, to have a Super Bowl here in of itself would be incredible. Absolutely incredible. And the amount of money that would probably get generated from doing something like that for the city because of the tourism that comes when you get a Super Bowl or a big game. And you also concerts, because right now, February, March, April, maybe April you could start to squeeze some things in, but like January, February, outside of football, you're not doing anything at Lincoln Financial. It's too cold. Ray, would you be on board?
Yes, because I see the greater good. There is the little, Philadelphia to me.
Keep it outside.
It's
keep
tough
football
to come
outside.
here in January because it's cold.
But then you just keep the roof open then.
Yeah, the
I
retractable
think the players
roof,
would probably be for it.
Yeah, it probably makes that the ideal. And plus, by the time we get there, like you said, it'll be 30 years old. We'll probably be looking for something. I got to be forward thinking here. As a prisoner of the moment, and the little I don't know, I'm almost caveman inside of me is like, no, make sure it's nice and cold at all times.
But
Forget the roof.
Look at Detroit, right? They got Ford Field, and it's a dome, but they have home field advantage because of how loud it gets. See, I keep thinking about not only the weather, put that aside, how loud would the Eagles Stadium be if there was a roof on it? I think this would be one of the toughest places to play in the NFL.
Oh, it would be
Yeah, I mean,
exceptional.
it already is, I think. But
It is. But it would be even because of how raucous the fans are. And if anybody's ever been in a dome, it's crazy. Seattle's not a
dome, but yet somehow it's still loud.
I've been in that one. That's the loudest stadium I've ever been in.
But they literally caused an earthquake when Marshawn Lynch had
that
playoff run a few years ago.
We were there the year that the Eagles went on to win the Super Bowl, and you could feel I felt like my chest was vibrating because of how loud it was. You physically shook.
So
that was strange.
Isn't that by design, though? Isn't that designed to keep the sound
It is concave kind of the way it
Yeah.
is. So it's not a dome, but it's got the concave side.
Not an architect, but I could pretend that I know what's going on.
I used the word concave.
I just used the line is designed that way. I was more impressed. Concave, yeah. All right, good stuff.
Yeah, I think it would be awesome. I'm all for it. I'm curious what fans think about it. I mean, it's only a pipe dream right now. We'd be looking at probably 9 years from now that this would happen. And there's another new stadium potentially coming. It passed a big hurdle. So City Council had their preliminary vote or initial approval last night. It passed 12-4.
That was a big hurdle.
Yeah, one member, Kendra Brooks, was absent. So it passed 12-4. And now the final vote will be next week. But everything I'm reading is that more as a formality. That's just going to happen.
Yeah, the only way I think from what I read that it wouldn't happen is if there's any kind of amendments presented that would push the timeline back. If there's any new amendments, because they I guess, negotiated a certain amount of how much the Sixers would pay to revitalize parts of the Chinatown area. The city then came and said that they would pay for, I wish it was a donation, for $20 million. Things like that obviously would need to be defined as far as where the money would come from. But I think it was the Mayor Parker said $20 million for housing and any kind of upgrades around would come from the city. And the Sixers, I think, pledged $60 million. Because I think that there were one of the studies that said between 75 and 100 million is what's needed to fully revitalize the entire area with, shops and restaurants and housing and apartments and things like that.
I believe they were
Parking.
initially at 50.
Yeah, and the Sixers
City
came
saw
up.
it 100 and then went up to 60.
Yeah, I think the valuation, there was a couple of those studies that said you needed to be north of 75. So I think that they got there with between the city and the Sixers coming through. So it'll be interesting to see. The one study that I keep going back to is the initial one, is that they said that they needed 40% of fans in attendance to take public transportation.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. They're going to have to retrain people on how to get down there because I know a lot of people like to drive. I mean, I'm going to the Flyers game tonight. I'll drive down. I like to drive.
Easy to do.
It's easy. You're in and out. But I think if they put that Sixers arena in Center City, and look, I live in Jersey, so they're redoing that Paco station down there in Chinatown. So, I mean, it'll be easy to get right to there, but we'll see how it all goes. The crazy thing is, though, in 10 years, when Ray finally turns 21, he could have 2 brand new arenas to go to down in South Philly if there's a new football stadium, and then the Sixers arena, Ray. That would be pretty exciting for you.
There you go. 11-year-old Ray is excited currently for 21-year-old Ray.
I'm very excited for my ability to potentially stay in the area I'm located to be able to walk to a Sixers game.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool, being able to walk.
You walk to the Navy Yard.
Yeah, I mean,
You could currently walk to a Sixers.
Yeah, he walks far.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done the full length walk all the way to, I walk. Yeah, okay, so I've basically done the walk entirely to the arena. It's a good point. I'm excited for a shorter walk that normally
there it is.
people
Ray
walk.
wants a shorter walk as he gets older.
And obviously, when it's colder, you might consider taking transportation.
Yes, and I usually do. I'm usually a Broad Street line down to the game now anyways. But, yeah, I'm excited for a little bit of a shorter walk. My nice big overcoat.
I think they're progressing for 31 would be when they would want to open it.
So we'll see how all that plays out. If you want to weigh in on that conversation about either the Sixers' new arena or a potential dome for the Philadelphia Eagles down in South Philadelphia, 610-632-0975. You could call or you can text. But I want to get back to the big news of the day, and that was Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown addressing some of the drama and, more importantly, maybe the issues with this passing game. Because the off-field stuff, I think, can be fixed by simply having a conversation. It's the on-field stuff that has me concerned, and it's something we've been talking about for a couple of weeks. Is this passing game good enough to win a Super Bowl, being 31st in the NFL in passing? And when A.J. Brown said after the game on Sunday, what can the offense improve on? He said passing. So he elaborated on what he meant. Ray, can you play A.J. Brown 4?
When he asked the question what the offense can do better, obviously it's not running the ball. He's about to win MVP. Like, literally. So what other thing we do on offense? We have to pass the ball. And that can go into protection. That go picking up a block. That go to us getting open quicker, being on the same page, Jalen Reeves, or whatever the case may be. It's a collect group of things, and, I think they just kind of just spent it that way. And, and I said that for a reason, honestly, because, we went to the Super Bowl and lost. We tried again next year. We was 10 and whatever our record is, and it was landslide. Here we go again. And it's something that we can correct right now while we have the opportunity. And that's why I was bringing the awareness or bringing it to everybody's attention. It's something we can focus on. We know we can run the ball. Saquon is doing a great job. We're not against running the ball. We love Saquon. Ask him what I tell him at the end of the game. In the game, I'm okay with being whatever bad guy I have to be for the city, the town, whatever the case may be, for my team to be accountable and to get better.
I love that answer from AJ.
Yeah, it's a great answer.
And, Amy, you said it earlier. If he would have said that after the game, I don't think anyone would have had any issues with what he said. But when he only gave the one-word answer, passing, people thought that was a shot at Jalen. But they kind of cleared the air yesterday. Are we ready to move on? I'm ready to move on. Amy's ready to move on.
Let's move on.
Ray's ready to move on. We want to hear from you, 610-632-0975. Let's go to our man Mitch from Phoenix. What's up, Mitch? Mitch.
Hi, Mitch.
All right. Goodbye, Mitch. Mitch was holding for a while. Ray's very disappointed. We'll go to Dan from Philly. What's up, Dan?
Hey, how's it going, Bill, Amy, and Ray? I love the conversation. I don't call in much, but I think my take on this is they interviewed AJ right after the game. He's probably filled with emotions, and I guess just by saying passing one word, it's better than really blurting out a lot of things that could have been misconstrued. I know when I'm emotional after something doesn't go the way you want, you can really say things that could be more harmful than good. But what I really wanted to talk about was Jalen Hurts. Nobody's talking about near the end of that game, Carolina. He took that sack when we were in field goal range, would have put us up 9. And then the clock runs, the play clock runs out, another 5 yards. Over time of the season, in the first 4 games of the year, if you remember when we weren't really playing that well, when there's close games, he seems to take sacks at the wrong time. After 5 years in the league, you would think even in pound ball, they'll say, yo, man, whatever you do, just don't take a sack and lose yards. You know what I mean? Don't fumble the ball. You say it to each other. You would think he would know that, but yet he went and took the sack anyway.
Yeah, see, the sacks that Dan brings up is a concern because when we talk about this passing offense and that they're in the bottom of the league in terms of yards, what a lot of people want to point out, though, is, well, yeah, but look at their attempts. Well, their attempts are also down because Jalen gets sacked a lot or he scrambles.
Right.
So it's not necessarily that they're not calling pass plays. Now, they're not calling 40 pass plays a game, but they are sacked the 11th most of any team in the NFL. Jalen's been sacked 36 times. To put that into perspective, Josh Allen has been sacked 13. I mean, think about that. Josh Allen's only been sacked 13 times, and it's not because of the offensive line.
Right.
And
holding on to the ball,
holding on to the football, and running quarterbacks tend to do that. But even Lamar Jackson's only been sacked 19 times.
Yeah,
so
his line is not as good as the Eagles at all.
No, it isn't. So there is an issue with Jalen holding the ball too long, afraid to pull the trigger. And I know Jalen addressed this and said it's not because he's concerned about the turnovers. It's hard to ignore that after the first 4 games when he turned the ball over a lot, he's focused on it, and did it make him gun shy?
Well, yes, and I think they took a step back from the offense and looked at it and thought, how can we put him in a better situation? And maybe it is not as many progressive reads as far as like going through 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe it's like, all right, 1, 2, then you do. Taking some of the simplification out or simplifying some of the maybe wordier plays. It just seems like the offense looks a lot different. And it's not just the fact that they're not going deep to A.J. Brown, which I think all you have to do is look at it and see that. And I think that is about being a little gun shy and not thinking, I want to force that 50-50 ball, which we all know if there's anybody that's going to go up and get that, it's not a 50-50 ball when it's near A.J. Brown. It's a 70-30 ball.
Yeah, maybe even higher, right?
Right? I mean, he has amazing hands. So, and his range is tremendous. But I feel like that they were like, all right, well, let's try to set you up for more success. We're going to simplify some of these reads and some of these plays. And then maybe, when you go through your progressions and you go through and there's a check down, you go through that. And so I feel like that's maybe what's changed. But yeah, I think that he probably is also gun shy. I mean, he was throwing. He was getting intercepted. That's all we talked about for the first couple weeks. How many interceptions going back to the end of last season he had?
Yeah, and just the first 4 games of the season, they averaged 33 pass attempts a game. He had 4 interceptions. The next 9, they only averaged 21 pass attempts a game. He's only thrown 1 interception.
There you go.
So there's definitely been a focus, and that's important when you have a running game like the Eagles do. Yeah, you don't want to be turning the ball over in the passing game, but you also just can't be scared. Jalen can't play scared. You got to pull the trigger because, to your point, Amy, it's not a 50-50 ball with A.J. And you saw in 2022 when Jalen had his MVP caliber season, he wasn't shy to throw the ball to A.J. down the field. He even did it in the Super Bowl because A.J. is going to win more times than not when you give him a chance in single coverage. So let's go back to the phones. Travis from Philly wants to weigh in on this conversation. What's up, Travis?
Yes, what's going on? I just want to say hello to everybody. I want to calm this whole situation down. And I'm going to calm this whole situation down by saying one thing. The one thing we have to focus on is the fact that we are 9-0.
In the last 9. 9 in a row.
We 9 in a row. Let's focus on that for 1 second. Second of all, I don't blame Jalen. I don't blame AJ. I blame the media, and I blame the NFL. We are not playing sexy, appealing football. I'm from the old school. I watch teams get a ball to running backs 29 times a game and control the clock and win ball games. That's what it's about, winning ball games. It's not going to be sexy. To everybody that's new watching football and you looking at Saquon get the ball and you like, man, what is this? It's not appealing. We winning ball games. That's what it comes down to.
I understand that, but Travis, here's the only concern, and this is what when AJ elaborated on what he meant post game when they asked him what can you work on with the offense, and he talked about passing. He referenced how they got to the Super Bowl and they lost. He referenced how last season they were 10-1 and then had that landslide. Mm-hmm. So I think
Let me ask you this.
What you got?
Cincinnati can outpass anybody right now in the NFL. What's their record?
No, I agree with you, but my point is, and I think this was AJ's point, is if you truly have these Super Bowl aspirations, what you're going to do is you're going to look internally at your team and you're going to figure out what area can we improve on to give us the best chance to win a Super Bowl. Because if they get to the playoffs and a team is able to shut down the run, you want to be able to be more than just one-dimensional. You want to be able to also have that passing game. What was that, Travis?
Nobody has shut down the run yet.
See, I understand that. And we even went up against the Baltimore Ravens, #1 rushing defense, and they were still able to run the football. And maybe these fears are never going to be realized. But when you look at this football team and you want this team to win a Super Bowl, I want
balance.
Yeah, I don't think it's unfair to say we don't want to have one of the worst passing offenses in the league.
You can be forced to win ugly. You don't want it to be the only way that you're winning.
And I don't even need them to be in the top 10 of the league. Yes. I'm just saying don't be 31st. Well, we'll continue to talk about it. We'll continue to get your calls. But coming up, we haven't done it in a couple days because there's been a busy few days. Our man Ray and the news at noon coming up next.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Addressing the drama, I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by PayPal. Get exclusive cashback offers in the app and with a PayPal debit card. Stack 5% more of your chosen monthly category and up to $1,000 in purchases. Don't just pay, PayPal. Yesterday, we finally heard from Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and A.J. Brown on the dramatics following the Brandon Graham comments on Monday night. The group had a unified front on Wednesday with the message that Hurts and Brown are good, and the situation has been addressed. Here's Hurts addressing his relationship with A.J. Brown.
You know, sometimes things change as dynamics change, but for him, he knows I had a lot of love for him, just like I got a lot of love for all these guys. And ultimately, he's a guy that's a competitor. You know, he wants to win. He damn sure wants the ball, and he wants to make an impact in the game, and I respect that.
Now we turn to the matchup with the 10-3 Steelers, the Battle of Pennsylvania on Sunday. The game is at 4:25 at Lincoln Financial Field. Tonight at the Wells Fargo Center, Flyers host the Detroit Red Wings at 7 o'clock. You can hear the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Also earlier this morning, Philadelphia City Council voted yes to move the Sixers' proposed arena out of committee to a full vote next week as they try to approve 76th place. I'm Ray Dunn, the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Missanelli Show. You got Bill Ray and Amy Fadul today. Hope everybody's enjoying their lunchtime. Before we get to everybody's favorite segment, the News at Noon, I want to tell you about the Fanatics Deal of the Week because these are always good, and this is another good one. So the Fanatic Deal of the Week this week, you get 2 adult extended day lift tickets to Bear Creek Mountain Resort for just $80. Located in Macungie, PA, Bear Creek Mountain Resort is the ultimate destination for skiing and snowboarding, featuring breathtaking views and thrilling trails for all skill levels. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals. But we haven't done it in a couple of days, but now your favorite segment, the News at Noon with Ray Dunn.
There's a whole lot going on in this world. It's time to catch up. Here's the News at Noon. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
What do you got, Raymond?
All right, let's start with a little teaser that was put out there from ESPN. The new 30 for 30 coming out on the New York Sack Exchange. We got Mark Gastineau.
That was
approaching Brett Favre. And then going into the exchange that they had at one of those sports memorabilia conventions, let's take a listen to the contentious moment where the two meet.
I thought we met a long time ago. At least I saw you.
Right.
How you doing?
When you fell down for him. I'm going to get my sack back. I'm going to get my sack back, dude.
You probably would hurt me.
Well, I don't care. You hurt me. You hurt me. You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
You really hurt me. You hurt me, Brett.
We got to get back to this, Brett. I'm sorry.
Anybody will tell you Brett Favre took a dive. And you know it. She knows it. He knows it. And everybody knows it. I didn't know what had happened. The NFL should have stopped that and said, listen, no. That's not a sack. He took my record away from me.
So for those unaware, Brett Favre took the dive that got Strahan the record back in the day for the single-season sack record. It was Mark Gastineau, who played for the Jets. And clearly, he's none too pleased.
No, he's not. And obviously, that's an awkward exchange. But
super weird.
Yeah, it was the last game of the year. Strahan was a half sack behind Gastineau. And it was just a simple dive play. And Brett Favre pulls it and then lets Strahan sack him. I can understand why Gastineau's upset because he would have still been the sack king.
Until TJ Watt took it.
Yeah. But think about all the money he would have made maybe over the years at signings and all these other things. But that was really all. It almost sounds like Gastineau's battling some issues.
Yeah. But, I mean, maybe he's put in this situation because of not being at that level anymore and having that lore.
But we're going way back now, but I didn't love it then. I still don't love it. Favre should not have done that. You don't give a sack. You don't do it. Ray, you with me on that?
I'm more curious as to I want my sack back. Like, did he think at the convention he was going to tackle Brett Favre and it was going to go well?
Well, I think he's basically just saying to Brett Favre, like, I am petitioning for somehow that to get reversed.
Yeah.
Which I guess would make him feel better. It's not going to change anything because the sack record then is still not his.
Yeah, I'm confused when he's saying I want my sack back and Brett Favre's like, that would hurt me.
Yeah, I think Brett Favre was trying to keep it light. He clearly was completely blindsided at this thing.
Yeah, he didn't know. But the other dude handled it well. Sorry, Brett, we got to get over here.
Go.
You got to be anywhere
away
that's
from
not
this.
here.
Yeah. All right, what else you got, Ryan?
All right, let's keep it with drama in football. We've got our own passing game concerns here in Philadelphia, and it's national news because the Eagles are doing so well. A team that's not doing so hot, the 49ers, have had to deal with Deebo Samuel. And here's just some of the short exchanges we've gotten this week between he and the San Francisco media.
You had a tweet that got a lot of attention yesterday. You care to expand on your feelings or what you wanted to convey with that?
I mean, you read what you read. A little frustrated for sure.
Kyle and Brock said that you guys talk just about daily. Is getting touches and things like that something that's discussed during those
conversations? Oh, yeah, 100%, yeah.
Do you see that? Do you sense that? I mean, as soon as you get the ball, that there's like 3 or 4 guys out there on the perimeter?
I mean, there's 3 or 4 guys whenever, no matter who got the ball.
cyclical with guys getting touches. You expect it to come back around for you, right? In terms of
When it comes, it comes.
Oh, a little drama in
The
San
scoff
Francisco.
when he was asked when you get the ball. That's a scoff.
Look, people are going to say I'm making this about my coach, Nick Sirianni. But Ray,
really?
the Super Bowl hangover is a real thing. It's why you're seeing a lot of drama, a lot of injuries, a lot of issues in San Francisco. I know last season didn't end the way Philadelphia wanted it to end, but that's why I wanted the coach back. This is what happens. Last year, San Francisco, everybody was happy all year. Things were great.
Just
I can't have fun. It's at the
he's
expense of
taking it
my
away.
fun. I try and poke fun at the 49ers, say things are going poorly, and all of a
You
sudden,
opened the door. I blame you, Ray.
No,
I
see,
blame
because
you.
you don't have to open the door.
You know, I find a
He
way.
finds the door.
I find a way to kick it down.
There isn't even a door. He
Yeah.
made one.
But I will say, the 49ers are not out of it yet. They're 6-7. It's not looking great. They could still backdoor their way into the playoffs. But not expecting it, but we will see. But is anybody upset that there's drama going on in San Francisco? I think we're enjoying this,
We're
aren't
not
we?
paying attention. I'm
I
not
would
paying
have enjoyed
attention.
it a lot more if there wasn't what was going on here was going on here.
Yeah, no, that's maybe true.
Very true.
We enjoy what's going on with the Cowboys a lot more than what's going on with the Niners.
When you said the more NFL drama and a receiver, I thought you were going to play Xavier Legette, who dropped the football against the Eagles. Did you see he admitted that he eats raccoon, and that's what he ate on Thanksgiving? Yeah. Raccoon?
It shows that you guys have never been around Southern people.
You ever eaten raccoon?
No, but I know people who have. I know people who've eaten raccoon. I know people who've eaten squirrel.
Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown asked him, what's the craziest thing you've ever eaten? And he's like, this is going to be a hot take, but raccoon. He kills it, he skins it, he cooks it. They're like, when was the last time? Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember him saying that.
Oh, man. All right, Ray, what else you got?
All right, let's keep it with the Bay Area and go to Steve Kerr, who gave his assessment of the Rockets NBA Cup court.
Told all the coaches it felt like I was descending into the depths of hell. deep red hue on the floor. It's a little disconcerting. I thought I had been better in my life. I didn't think I deserved that fate. But.
Does it look much different than what the Sixers looked like last year?
It was way worse. It looked like blood all over the court.
It's bad.
It was very aggressive.
I was out a week or two ago. I think it was the Sixers Cup game against the Hornets, and for people went like, "What in the world am I watching right now?" Well, it's the NBA Cup. Why do they have to have the court like that? And I don't really have a good answer. Like
there isn't.
I just kind of shrugged my shoulders. They're trying to make it important. Can we stop with it next year?
No.
You talking about the court or the NBA Cup in general? Because I'd be okay with all of it going on.
No, it's all here to stay.
I can't get rid of the cup, but I can try and fight the court.
Nope. Yeah, they should just put the NBA Cup trophy or whatever it is out there a couple times, and that would signify that it's a different situation.
Arena workers. There was a situation where the Sixers played back-to-back nights at the Wells Fargo Center, and they had to change the courts.
That's correct.
That's probably frustrating. Well, they probably don't mind the hours, the arena workers. Look, Ray, you're taking money out of people's pocket now. What are you doing to people, Ray? People need the money. Speaking of which, I heard you may be working some overtime today.
Hey.
That is the case.
What you doing?
I will be on television from 2 to 6.
Wonderful.
Sitting in that chair.
Wait.
The whole time?
The whole time.
Looking like that?
Yeah.
You're
You look great.
You're going to go home and
Well, he's ready for Flyers.
straighten up a little bit?
No. Maybe I'll buzz my head.
Yeah, I got to say, sitting in this chair, as opposed to the one I usually sit in, which is where Amy's sitting, that light is so bright on your head. I see on YouTube, because I got it open, my head is shining.
Yes, I considered putting on sunglasses.
My God, is it distracting, Amy?
It's not. I don't see it from this angle. It looks normal.
Blinding.
Sorry, it looks normal to me.
It's blinding. Well, Raymond, we appreciate the news at noon, as always. You did such a great job. See that? You see that kind compliment?
It was.
I
And
never
then
get it.
You literally just balled up. It sounded like you balled up the news at noon when you said that. I was like, thanks for the news at noon. Crinkle, crinkle, trash can.
I did rip it up. But see, I can say nice things about Ray. I don't get that reciprocation back, but it's fine. It's fine, Ray, but when we get back, I want to
I
jump.
told you about saying that. It's not fine.
I know.
We talked about that.
Can you tell how frustrated I am with Ray?
Exactly. Is it fine?
Oh, you're frustrated with me? I thought this was a one-sided frustration.
You're never
I thought
nice, Ray.
I thought this was a one-sided thing.
People in the YouTube chat know you are never nice to me. You always are attacking me.
That doesn't sound That doesn't sound like the way I
Always attacking me.
Poor Bill.
Poor Bill. Well, poor AJ and Jalen. Because when we get back, I want to play some more of these clips from yesterday And what we haven't played yet was Jordan Mailata addressing this situation. So I want to play Jordan Mailata because with Jason Kelsey retiring, Fletcher Cox retiring, there were a lot of questions about who was going to step up to be a leader on this football team. Jordan Mailata may have answered the bell. We'll play that for you coming up next.
Ricky Vitalico.
I think Kellen Moore's play call.
Ray, I thought you were going to hit us with a lot of boy bands coming out of the breaks since I'm driving today, but
Nope. Let the
Haven't heard
rotator
anything.
do its thing.
it's all Mike musical choices coming
You
out.
went different ones?
Yeah, maybe a little. He throws Backstreet in every once in a while.
I only throw in Backstreet for Bill. I could see the pain in Mike's eyes when the Backstreet Boys
Yeah,
come
he's
on.
not a fan.
He's not a big
He's
boy
not a
band
fan.
guy.
So I mean, I wouldn't call myself a big boy band guy.
You don't have to call yourself. We all realize you are.
I mean, I think it speaks for itself.
Well, when I was in high school, that was the songs that were coming. But there's bigger news than boy bands today. Obviously, Jalen and AJ addressed the media yesterday. We've been playing clips from both of their media availability throughout the show. I think they handled it better than they could have possibly expected in light of everything that was going on. The message was clear. They had a team meeting. Sirianni, last season, wasn't able to stop adversity from setting in. Let's hope they can stop it this season. But it started yesterday, and Jalen Hurts, maybe his best media availability ever. And I'm not exaggerating it. I always think he comes off sounding like a robot. I thought he did a great job yesterday at being honest, taking accountability, talking about the passing game, areas he needs to improve. A.J. Brown explained what he meant by passing, and I believe him. I don't think he was taking a shot at Jalen Hurts when he said passing. I do think he was talking about the passing game. Now, what I keep going back to, Amy, is if a player on the offense was asked about something they needed to improve on, and let's say the rushing attack was struggling, which it clearly
And
is.
you go to Saquon, and he says,
if
running the ball.
Yeah, running the ball. Or one of the offensive linemen said, the running game.
The ball.
The running game.
Yeah.
Would we immediately say, oh, man, he must be taking a shot at Saquon Barkley? No, I mean, you'd be talking about the running game as a whole, the offensive line, the running backs, the play caller,
Well,
the
because
scheme.
he didn't use the word game.
Yeah, he said passing.
Passing.
Yeah,
and
which
then
made it worse.
Then the follow-up was like, passing? Did I hear you correctly? And it was just a nod. Again, it was the absolute, I'm fine.
But hopefully.
But it's all fine now.
Hopefully it is. But when Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelsey retired, a lot of people were questioning who's going to step up and be a leader on this team. And I think Jordan Mailata may have answered that question because what he had to say to the media yesterday was great. Listen to Jordan Mailata.
Yes. We are moving on. It is the Pittsburgh Steelers this week, not the A.J. Brown and Jalen show.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, not the A.J. Brown and Jalen show. What do you think of that?
Listen, his whole availability was great. He's like, oh, you guys want to talk about anything? Ha, ha, ha. And he knew what they were going to ask him. He said, listen, we're on. We're moving on. Everything's fine. If you want to talk to them about it, you can go. He was not going to insert himself into it. He took the leadership high road and said, it's Steelers week. We're worried about winning games. It's not about two guys. It's about the whole team. And that's where we're going to focus. And it was great. That's no surprise. He's shown us he's that guy since going back to last season.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved what he had to say. I liked what AJ and Jalen had to say. I'm ready to move on. I'm hoping the fans are as well. So we want to hear from you. Have you heard enough? Is the drama behind us? 610-632-0975. You could text or you could call. Let's go back to the phones because David from Drexel Hill wants to weigh in. What's up, David?
Hey, how y'all doing? Hey, listen, the first thing, what I think people fail to realize with Jalen, if he was one game more, he have another 200-300 yards, say he had in the game, he'd be probably in the top 6 for passing. He'd have 3,000 yards. And that's crazy because everybody say he can't throw to nobody. I'm figuring out how do he got like 2,700 yards now? How do he got that? Because he don't pass to nobody, everybody say.
Well,
or let me ask you this.
But David, the issue is over the last 8 games.
Yeah,
the offense is only averaging 156 passing yards a game in 8 games. I mean, 156 passing yards.
That's not bad.
I mean,
if he had got 150 yards in the last game, I wouldn't even be saying nothing with the running game the way it's going. That would be acceptable to me. 150 yards passing, easily acceptable, because you said something earlier that made me call when you were talking about his turnovers early on, and everybody forget that A.J. wasn't even playing in a couple of them games, and the man barely reached for it, and somebody took it out of his hands. And we like, if A.J. was out there, A.J. would have pulled that ball in with the turnovers. But let me ask you this. Why is it so underestimated with Jalen that the man has I think he might have more touchdowns running than our star running back?
Yeah, the tush-push certainly plays a part in that. But Jalen so far this season, I was looking at these numbers yesterday. Jalen right now has how many rushing touchdowns? I think he's got 13 on the year.
I think that's the case, 13.
Yeah, he's got 13 rushing touchdowns. He's thrown for 16, so he's got 29 total. And what's Saquon have, 11 this year?
I mean, that's don't even. You can't. Stop it.
What, with the touchdowns?
Stop it.
Yeah. I mean, Saquon's been doing a lot. But
I'm going to go ahead and leave the running game to Saquon Barkley.
They tried.
He's doing all right.
They tried to get him a touchdown.
I couldn't believe it. And as soon as he got stopped at the one, I thought, here it is.
MVP chasing right here.
Here it is.
Did you hear that mic'd up? It's floating around where Saquon, he has that 6-yard run. He almost scores.
Yes.
And he's like, no, it's a touchdown. It's a touchdown. And then they run the brotherly shove. Jalen gets it. And Jalen says to him, you tried. And Saquon says, it's all good. I just want to win.
He's been that guy.
Yeah.
You know, when he had the first chance to get the rushing record, you know, he was mic'd up. Nick Sirianni goes over, you know, here's where you're at. Like, you know, and he's like, no, I'm good.
But
even when he got it, we did this.
The rushing attack is phenomenal. And to David's point, saying that Jalen hasn't been that bad, they're relying on the running game. We know that, and I realize that. And we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, though, because the passing game to me is not passing, no pun intended, the eye test. Like when you watch it, it's not just the stats. Like I'm giving you the stats, but when you're watching the games, something just seems off with the passing game. And it came to a head against Carolina. That's not a great defense. And this was something else that A.J. Brown said in his clip was, if people were out there making plays, shutting down the passing attack, then I wouldn't have a problem with it. They're NFL players. But it's us that are preventing the passing game from being effective. And that was kind of my point as well. Like, if Jalen Hurts was Trent Dilfer, I wouldn't care. I'd say, no, this is the formula. But when you have Jalen Hurts, who we've seen
you know he can do it. The one thing that I will, with the last caller, he said, if he has another 300, he has had one 300-yard game this year? So I hear you in the fact that if he had one more, he would be. His numbers are what they are, and his completion percentage is fine. It's in that very good quarterback range, which is usually between 65 and 70% for most people. That's what they would say, oh, that's a very good quarterback. He's at like 68%. But you're thinking about it because of that. That's why, like you said, if it was Brad Johnson or Trent Dilfer, and you're like, all right, well, he is who he is. But we know that he can do more, and you're just trying to parse out why that's the case. Why is he not throwing the deep ball a few more times? Why is he not targeting some of the go routes? Why are they not putting up a little bit better numbers overall? Because, yes, the numbers are low, but they could be so much higher if they just got a little bit more going. They're winning, so, you know, we're nitpicking. We're nitpicking.
We are because
we want more. We need to have one nice thing.
And the goal isn't just to win regular season games.
No.
It's the reason why we talked about this yesterday, that McNabb was criticized heavily in this city, is because you want to win the big game. And when we look at this football team and you have a good defense and you got a good rushing attack, the only thing we want to see them improve is the passing game. And I think that was the whole point of A.J. Brown's comments, even though he didn't make them the right way, just saying passing is we don't want to lose in the playoffs. Because people keep saying, well, the passing game hasn't been an issue. But if it is an issue and you lose a playoff game, there's no coming back from it. So you work on it now. You try to improve it now so it doesn't become an issue when it matters most in the playoffs. But we'll continue that conversation. I want to hear from all of you. Are you ready to move on? And something that Amy just said that we talked about a little earlier as well is that they keep winning. Are wins a quarterback stat? Because we've been having that debate a little bit. Some people would say it's not a quarterback stat, but others would tell you, look, all Jalen Hurts does is win. So I want you to weigh in on that conversation as well. Are wins a QB stat? 610-632-0975. Keep it here. We'll be right back.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Addressing the drama, I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Coming January 25th, the biggest fighting event ever to hit Philadelphia, Knucklemania 5 from Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, Saturday, January 25th at Wells Fargo Center. Yesterday, we finally heard from Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and A.J. Brown on the dramatics following Brandon Graham's comments on Hurts and Brown on Monday. The group showed a unified front on Wednesday with the message that Hurts and Brown are good and that the situation has been addressed. Here's Hurts addressing his relationship with A.J. Brown.
You know, sometimes things change as dynamics change, but for him, he knows I have a lot of love for him, just like I got a lot of love for all these guys. And ultimately, he's a guy that's a competitor. You know, he wants to win. He damn sure wants the ball, and he wants to make an impact in the game, and I respect that.
Now we turn our attention to the matchup with the 10-3 Steelers in the Battle of Pennsylvania on Sunday. The game's at 4:25 at Lincoln Financial Field. Tonight at the Wells Fargo Center, the Flyers host the Detroit Red Wings at 7. You can hear the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Also, earlier this morning, Philadelphia City Council voted yes to move the Sixers' proposed arena out of committee to a full vote next week, potentially approve 76th place. I'm Ray Dunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome back into the Mike Missanelli Show.
The rave.
I like this one. You got Bill Colarillo, Amy Fadul, Ray Dunn behind the glass. And it's everybody's lucky day because not only do you get Amy Fadul today, you're going to get Ray Dunn for an extended 2 hours coming up after this show.
Four. He's doing all
the
four.
full four.
He's doing the full four.
Wow. So Ray
also
Dunn.
going to be on television, too.
Ray Dunn, you could see Ray Dunn on TV today from 2 to 6 with Tyrone and Silvana. A lot of people's lucky day. But we'll get our man Mikey Miss back tomorrow as we continue to prepare for the Eagles and Steelers game, which hasn't been talked about a lot, Amy.
Let's do it.
A little bit of other things going on with the A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Brandon Graham drama. But I thought they did a great job yesterday. We've been playing some sound bites from both of their media availability. Jalen was great yesterday. I got to give Jalen Hurts a lot of credit. He was great. And one of the answers he gave about focusing on the team, I thought was very heartfelt, and it didn't seem to me to be forced upon him, like from the PR staff saying, this is what you're going to say. I thought he did a nice job of being what I thought was very honest and truthful. Listen to Jalen Hurts here. I think.
I mean, it's just about the team in the end. I think overall, that's where my focus is. I think that's where everyone's focus is at heart and trying to do what's best for the team. Ultimately, everyone cares about the team's success. Whenever something happens, I look at myself first, because everything starts and ends with me. And I take great pride in what I do. I take great pride in the responsibilities that I have when I am to the city and to this team. And I challenge myself on that. I'm my best when I'm my biggest critic, and I have to continue to challenge myself on being critical on some things so I can be better. And in the end, everyone expresses themselves differently, and I respect that, and I accept how anyone shows up. But ultimately, I look at myself first, and I say, what do I need to do better, and ultimately play at the highest level I can play. I just told the team, everybody dominate their box, including myself. And that's what it's about. I don't want to get lost in the sauce of everything else.
I keep saying it. Jalen and AJ crushed these interviews, man. I mean, this could have gone a different way.
I thought they were very mindful. They were very thoughtful. And like you said, I think the message, though similar, was delivered in an authentic way. I don't think there's anything wrong with how it was delivered or what they said, that the message was the same. People are saying that maybe it was disingenuous because it seemed like all right, well, that's just the reality of it. You're going to have, you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. You're going to have your employees try to send a unified message. I don't care if you're working for a Fortune 500 company or whatever, but this case it's the Eagles. But I thought they delivered it in an authentic way to themselves. They said, all right, we're past this. We're all on the same page. Listen, he aired his grievances. I aired mine. We talked about it. We're all good. And I think that that's fine. I mean, I think the flip side, the devil's advocate is like, what else did you want them to say? Well, they could have just said nothing. When we heard that the locker room's open for the first day, A.J. Brown, because I know we talked to at NBC Sports Philadelphia, like, oh, maybe if he talks, maybe Ty wants to run it live.
Yeah.
And my first thought was like, ugh, you think he's going to talk?
Well,
he could have just been like,
he didn't
I'm
last
good.
year.
Right? He could have just been, I'm good. You guys took it the wrong way, and I'm good. But he took one for the, I think the betterment of the team. They both came out and said very thoughtful things, and I thought it was very authentic in the way that they delivered them to each person that was speaking.
Yeah, and I think they handled it the right way. And whether or not this comes from the PR staff or not, they made the right decision, because what I was worried about was maybe they were going to say, we're on to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right.
We're not going to address
Bill Belichick.
Yeah, we're not going to address anything. Brandon Graham's already said he spoke out of turn. He didn't mean what he said. We're ready to move on. Well, I think that would have been a disaster, because we would have been left to just insinuate what was going on. They both addressed it, and I think they addressed it in a really good way. I'm ready to move on. I know people are probably out there saying, well, then move on, stop talking about it. Well, we got to talk about it because we're reacting to what happened yesterday. So we want to hear from you. Do you think this drama has now been put to bed? Are we ready to officially move on? And what I keep saying, though, Amy, as great as they handled it, as great as everything is right now because it was addressed, if they struggle this weekend, I think it all comes back.
Yeah, if you see them, if they win, bottom line is that's all that matters. If they lose and the passing game looks better, I think people might take a silver lining from that. But I think at the end of the day, you got to get the win or the loss. But yeah, if they lose and the passing game looks atrocious, yeah, it's going to come back.
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about.
I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. I think that A.J. Brown's going to be targeted like 5 times.
I think you're probably right, too. Look, if they come out, I don't need to see them put up 300 yards. But if they come out and the passing game's effective and A.J. has a good game, Jalen looks good, makes the right decisions, and they win the game, no problem.
It makes me nervous that it's this game. This is a Steelers team that turns people over quite a bit. They have 15 interceptions. That's top 3 in the NFL.
Yeah, 28 takeaways. That's number 1 in the league right now.
It's a very active defense.
They are, on the season, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a plus 17 turnover differential, number 1 in the league. That is wild. I mean, the Eagles, who've had a good defense and have been protecting the ball, are plus 4.
And that's how, when you hear how, and I said tongue-in-cheek that Russell Wilson's, just an average quarterback. I know he's above average quarterback. He's a 9-time Pro Bowler. He's a Super Bowl champion. I think people in the comments are like, shoot, I don't know what you're talking about. But the reason that he is obviously, slightly average, above average right now. But the reason they're able to score all of the points and dominate at times on offense like they did last week is because the defense gives them a short field. Of course, you're going to be able to punch it in from 40 yards out.
Well, if you look at the numbers right now, Jalen's averaging 200 passing yards a game, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Russell Wilson didn't play in the beginning of the season. They had Justin Fields in there. Russell was hurt. But Russ is averaging 256 a game, Jalen 200. Wilson has 12 passing touchdowns. Jalen has 16.
Yeah.
And Russell's only thrown 3 interceptions. So he's playing a lot better.
He is. I would like to see number of possessions and because I feel like they get a lot of opportunities because of their defense.
Yeah, that defense is
it's
good.
It's ridiculous. So, yes, I want the passing game to work on itself, but maybe just...
Yeah, this may be a tough week to improve the passing game, but I want to go to the phones because Michael from Yardley wants to talk about that passing game. What's up, Michael? You're on the Fanatic.
What's up, guys? Good afternoon. What's up, Amy? Good.
Hi, Michael.
What's up, Bill? Bill, you asked, and I saw you tweeted out, is winning a quarterback stat? Now, I want to ask you a series of questions because I know you know the answers, but we're talking about Jalen Hurts. Was he a winner at Alabama?
Yes.
He was 26-2 when he got benched. So
it's crazy he got benched.
But we know Jalen's a winner. No one's ever doubted the winning ability of Jalen Hurts, and he's been on great teams. But he still got benched. Why did he get benched? He got benched because the passing game, what they would execute in practice, and we all know Nick Saban is a great teacher, and he's great when it comes to details. He's really focused on the details. When he would lay out a passing plan, a passing attack, this is how we're going to attack this team. They're going to do this. We're going to counter with this. These are your reads. This is how I want you to read the defense, throw the ball on time with anticipation. Jalen struggled with that. And who did Saban bench Jalen for? Tua, someone who, I'm not saying Tua's better than Jalen. I'm not saying that. But Tua's known to throw the ball accurately with anticipation. And that's what we want out of Jalen. No one is saying that Jalen Hurts is bad. But when we look at the game, right, we're not talking about throwing the ball more. We're talking about throwing the ball effectively when those passes are there to be made. When there's a flood route, half-field concept, and the progression is look deep to intermediate to check down, and the deep route is A.J. Brown, and he's there. Why are you checking the ball down? That's the thing that's surrounding this. And I do believe, even though they squash the beef in the media, I do believe if the passing game continues to struggle, this is not going away.
Yeah, good call by Michael. I mean, a lot of good information in there, and he's not wrong. And we talked about this yesterday. Jalen in 2022 in the MVP caliber season was averaging close to 250 passing yards a game. And I do think you saw exactly what Michael was talking about is he was anticipating his receivers coming out of their breaks. He was throwing his receivers open. He was taking chances down the field. And then last year, he loses Shane Steichen. There's been a lot of stories about Sirianni refusing to adjust and Brian Johnson not being able to run the offense he wanted to run. And what happened? So Jalen goes from 250 a game down to about 230 a game. Turnovers go from 6 interceptions up to 15 interceptions. So then they clean house. They bring in Kellen Moore. He was supposed to help with this passing game. And you've seen Jalen's numbers now drop again down to 200 yards a game. Mm-hmm. But is that more of a reflection on Jalen or because they have a strong rushing attack? Because I think the Jalen defenders will say, no, it's because they're running the ball so much. But something does seem off,
They changed it. They changed. There's no doubt you can't look at that offense in let's just say week 1 or week 2 or week 3 and say it was the same one you saw in week 7. There's just no way. And it's not just because of the way that Saquon Barkley is running the ball. I think they've simplified some of the passing game, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I just feel like if you want to really get to the promised land, you need to let the passing game loose a little bit more than what we've seen. But it's winning games, and that's the thing. It's like, all right, well, maybe it's just they're kicking the can down the line. Like, we're going to get to it. We are going to open it back up. We are going to look for those deep balls again. But the turnovers were a real issue, and the seemingly simple solution is he doesn't throw the deep balls as much. There you go.
Yeah. It's probably, when you say a real issue, it's probably the biggest issue, too. When you looked at the beginning of this season is the turnovers. They'll kill you. I mean, even last season, as bad as things looked at times, they still had like a top 10 offense. The turnovers killed them. And a lot of it was Jalen. 15 interceptions, 5 fumbles lost. And he's done a great job of protecting the ball. So that's why people are probably listening like, well, what else do you want from this guy? You've told him to stop throwing interceptions, and he did. You want the team to run the football, and they are. It's just throw all the numbers aside for a second. When you watch these games, trust your eyes. Something is off with the passing game, and I'm not saying Jalen can't get it better, but he needs to improve it, and I think that's what A.J. Brown meant was, look, we need to improve. If we want to win a Super Bowl, we can't be one-dimensional. We have to be able to beat you in the air as well, and I'm confident that Jalen can do it. I really am. I've seen him do it before. Like that caller saying he got benched at Alabama. We all know it. He got benched at the halftime of the national championship game. We all remember.
He also came in the SEC championship game and single-handedly won it.
And, threw a big pass in that game. And I keep going back to the Super Bowl. I can't get past that in the biggest game of this guy's career, he completed 71% of his passes.
He went toe-to-toe.
Over 300 yards passing, touchdown in the air, 3 touchdowns on the ground, 70 rushing yards. He ran in a 2-point conversion. I mean, he was unbelievable in that game. Mahomes threw for like 180.
Yeah, 185, I think.
In that game.
180 something.
So I still think he can get there. So maybe, look, the question they asked on the morning show was, do you think the Eagles are going to be better off following this drama because it's now forcing them to kind of fix these issues?
Yeah, I think that it obviously had been coming to a head. I think it forced the issue out in public. But I'm sure the conversations had been had. I think that's one thing that I took away when you hear from Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown was this is not a new thing. It's not like they were like, oh, all of a sudden last week we decided that the passing game needs some work, and I brought that to your attention. I think it came to a head, but I think conversations had been ongoing. And maybe slowly but surely it was going to chip its way in as far as like, let's open things up a little bit, look for AJ a little bit more. Let's see if we can air it out, get a little things going a little bit more vertically rather than kind of horizontal, because that's where some of the passes have been, right? I mean, a lot of checkdowns and 2 yards and 5 yards and whatever else. I think that it will help in the fact that now it's something that they have to be a little bit more cognizant of. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I do think it's going to be, all right, well, let's air this out a little bit. Again, maybe not this week.
It's going to be a tough week. that is the frustrating thing. It's just going to be a tough week.
I do worry a little bit just because I see what the Steelers are able to do as far as turning teams over at the clip that they do, and it is problematic. But listen, in order to be the best, you got to beat the best. This is the best defense when it comes to turning teams over.
I mean, that's the scary thing, though, is I keep saying I'm hoping the drama's behind us. If the passing game struggles on Sunday, which it very likely could against a good defense like the Steelers.
Yeah, so didn't you throw it out maybe? Because it's like,
Well, I mean, you're thinking rationally. We don't think rationally in this city. If Jalen Hurts comes out against the Steelers and he has a bad game throwing the football.
I mean, it's a really good team.
It's going to be at a fever pitch next week of people angry. But, Ray, we threw this question out all day. Are people ready to move on from the drama? I know we got a lot of text on this.
Yeah, Lou from Langhorne. The drama won't be over until they prove it on the field with a good passing performance. We said we always believe that winning is the best disinfectant. Well, 9 wins in a row, and something still smells a bit. If you listen to AJ, he said, here we go again, in reference to last year. That's not nothing and should be paid attention to.
It was interesting in AJ Brown's comments, and we played them for you earlier, that he does reference we went to the Super Bowl, and then last year we were 10-1, and it was a landslide, is I think the word he may have used. I think he may have said landslide. Is that what he said, Ray? Was it landslide?
It was landslide.
So, I mean, it's interesting that we've talked a lot about, hey, we don't want to compare this team to last year. They're a different team. But clearly it's in the players' heads.
I mean, they can't not think about it. I think you have to think about we just don't want to go down that path again. and any kind of adversity coming up, it's just human nature to think back. Well, when's the last time we had some adversity? Oh, I know. Last year when we started 10-1. But I think that they did learn from that. I think that he probably felt like, here we go again. You guys are trying to get us to do something. We're not trying to do anything.
No, but they learned from it. Go ahead, Ray.
It's important. One thing, we're going to start pointing out little things that were said during the A.J. Brown conversation. He specifically said, for those of you that your hero is all these guys on the Eagles and we're the enemy to you forever, he specifically said this is not on the media. That was something that came from A.J. Brown.
He said it.
That was something he said. Not created by us.
It's not a media-created storm.
It's just Philly. He might actually be blaming you out there who's listening right now.
Is that on... Ray, was that Brown, too, the misperception about his passing comments? Play that. I think that may be what you're referring to. Brown, 2.
I think that's what the world did. You know, they perceived what I said about passing and felt like it was an attack on Jalen. And I think that's what he did. You know, me and Jalen relationship is personal. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it got cut off there because he says, I think that's what the world did. And then he said something like, and that's Philly. But I don't want to blame the media. Did you hear? So that's what Ray was trying to point out. I wish we had it because Ray's correct. Because we've been getting blamed like crazy, Amy. I'm sure you have seen it.
It's actually just Bill's fault.
On social media.
I think people just blamed you.
I got blamed a lot for this.
It's cool, actually, if they blamed Bill.
I got blamed a lot for this.
I didn't hear A.J. Brown let Bill off the bar.
Yeah, it was. He didn't say – he actually said Bill personally.
Yeah, he did.
He said media, yes, but not Bill.
He said, was that Ray Dunn at the News at Noon?
I saw it was media created. You guys are feeding into this. All right, well, it's literally we're pressing play. Brandon Graham wasn't even asked a question specific to that.
And the thing is, too, is what we have been talking about. Put the drama aside for a second. What we have been talking about and has been asked by a lot of people is, can this passing offense win you a Super Bowl? That's been the question that gets thrown out. What's going on with the passing offense? It needs to be better. And now you got the team saying that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just the media saying the passing offense isn't good enough.
Because the numbers don't lie in that regard.
No, they don't. And it's not just the media saying that Jalen Hurts hasn't been good enough. And I think Jalen Hurts took accountability in his press conference saying, yeah, it starts with me. I got to be better. This passing offense needs to be better. So we'll continue that conversation and hopefully put it to bed the last hour of the show. But we also got to talk about something else. I do want to talk about the Eagles. I want to talk about AJ and Jalen. But we're going to have to switch gears, too, and talk about Bill Belichick. Because that news that he has accepted the head coaching job, not for an NFL team, but the University of North Carolina, has shocked me.
Hell yeah.
And I want to talk to Amy and Ray about their opinion of Bill Belichick. Not only dating college girls, coaching college kids now. We'll get into all of it. Thank you, Ray. We'll get into all of it coming up next.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Addressing the drama, I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Macy's Backstage. Macy's Backstage has amazing deals on the holidays. Most fun gifts, get low prices every day on unique finds in-store only at Macy's Backstage. Find location near you at Macy'sBackstage.com. Off price, on trend, arriving daily. Yesterday, we finally heard from Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and A.J. Brown on the dramatics following Brandon Graham's comments on Hurts and Brown on Monday. The group showed a unified front on Wednesday with a message that Hurts and Brown are good and that situation has been addressed. Here is Hurts addressing his relationship with A.J. Brown.
You know, sometimes things change as dynamics change, but for him, he knows I had a lot of love for him, just like I got a lot of love for all these guys. And ultimately, he's a guy that's a competitor. You know, he wants to win. He damn sure wants the ball, and he wants to make an impact in the game, and I respect that.
Now we turn our attention to the matchup with the 10-3 Steelers in a Battle of Pennsylvania on Sunday. The game is at 4:25 at Lincoln Financial Field. Tonight at the Wells Fargo Center, the Flyers host the Detroit Red Wings at 7. You can hear the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Also, earlier this morning, the Philadelphia City Council voted yes to move the Sixers' proposed arena out of committee and to a full vote next week as we move closer to them approving 76th place. I'm Ray Dunn, the home of the 76ers and the Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Missanelli Show has been holding court.
Big topic of the day, again, will be the Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown drama. They addressed it yesterday. It was the first time since all of this went down. A.J. Brown says what needs to be worked on, passing. Brandon Graham then takes gasoline, throws it on the fire on the air on Monday night, saying that there was a personal issue between Jalen and A.J. that needs to be taken care of. So we hadn't heard from either A.J. Brown or Jalen Hurts up until yesterday, but I don't think you could have asked for more from the way Sirianni handled it at his press conference to start the day to the way A.J. Brown handled it at his locker. He handled it well, and Jalen Hurts, I have to say, was extremely good as well. So are we ready to move on now? Is the drama behind us based off of this being addressed yesterday?
Mike and Bill have been pleading their cases.
So I thought it was fine. I mean, I think that they still got their points across, and I think they said it both in ways that were genuine to each person that said it, whether you're talking about Nick Sirianni or Jalen Hurts or A.J. Brown. It wasn't like they said the same, verboten statement, right? So do I think it's over? No. I mean, it's going to continue, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's over, and we'll get into more later on in the show when we look forward to the Steelers game on Sunday, because depending on how that game goes, maybe this drama creeps back in, depending on if they have a bad passing game or not.
The Mike Missanelli Show Holding Court is brought to you by Grunko Law, your law firm when you need help because of an injury. We treat every case like it's Dallas Week. Pray for peace, prepare for trial. Now back to Mike Missanelli on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
That's right. Welcome back into the Mike Missanelli Show. You just heard you have Bill and Amy today. No Mike. Still got Ray behind the glass. You also have Ray Dunn from 2 to 6 on the best show ever with Tyrone. So you want to keep it here. You get 8 hours of Ray Dunn today. It doesn't get much better than that.
That's amazing. I can't wait.
Boss is already just crying at the ratings.
Yeah. Everyone's excited. They're not going to be able to handle it. Hopefully they don't have a Netflix
Tears
issue.
of joy.
Where all those viewers cause like NBC Sports Philadelphia to crash or something because it's on TV as well.
We can handle it.
Amy can weigh in. Yeah, NBC Sports can handle all those ratings. She's used to those big ratings. But the 12 o'clock hour was brought to you by Service First Heating and Air Conditioning. Get 0% financing for 72 months and a $500 rebate when you purchase a complete heating and cooling system from Service First. Learn more at servicefirsthvac.com. Obviously, the big topic of the day, I know some people are sick of hearing about it, but the big topic of the day is the drama between AJ and Jalen. If it was even that, but it had to be addressed because of what Brandon Graham said in response to what A.J. Brown said in response to the bad passing performance on the field. See, I don't want to lose sight of that, Amy, where this kind of all started because of what was happening on the field.
Right.
If the passing offense was better, A.J. doesn't say that post-game, then Brandon Graham can't say what he said, and we don't get here. So the passing offense is the real issue, but let's hope that's something that they can improve. And I've said this, we talked about it a lot on this show over the last couple of weeks. The way the offense is right now doesn't mean they can't win, but if you're looking at what is more likely to win a Super Bowl is you want to be more than one-dimensional. You want a passing attack as well, in addition to a strong rushing attack.
It's just one of those things that you can win, like I said, you can win ugly at times, and it's fine to win ugly once or twice. You just don't want to make that your pattern. You don't want it to make your pattern. You're only throwing the ball 18 times for every single game. Then to your point, you are one-dimensional. There is no offensive threat through the air, really. And it's not even a chance of like, oh, I'm doing it, a little bit more judiciously. Like I'm only throwing it when I really have to. No, this is how the offense is being run right now as far as the passing game. You've seen enough of it to know this is what it is. And I think you just need to see more than what they've shown if you'd like to make a deep run in the postseason. It's a postseason. I mean, it's a passing league, especially in the postseason. And people will point out numbers like, oh, well, Patrick Mahomes only threw for what? In the postseason he did, but in the regular season, you knew that he's a gunslinger out there, and you know he has that capable, kind of like tool in his bag, so to speak. He can do all of those things. You need to see it at some point to know and trust that Jalen and the offense does too. Right, you can't just like never throw to these guys or throw to them in limited, and then all of a sudden when push comes to shove, oh well, now we're really going to open. Okay, I don't want to open it up in late January. I would have already opened it up in October.
And I'm surprised with the amount of attention that Saquon Barkley and that rushing attack takes from the defense that you're not seeing a more explosive passing offense.
Right.
Just simply because of that very reason, with the play action and people trying to load the box. So that's why I want to see them kind of improve in that other area. I don't need them to be tops in the league.
Yeah, I don't need them to go all of a sudden like 300 yards.
Yeah, you just don't want to be in the bottom. Yeah, just don't be in the bottom. Don't average 180 yards a game, what they're doing right now. I mean, literally, they're averaging 181 yards in the air a game. Now, on the flip side of that, people argue, well, they're still top 7 in yards per game because of how many rushing yards. But you just are looking for what could slow this team down. It's not the rushing attack, as A.J. Brown told you. It's not the defense. It's just if a team stops the run, you got to be able to throw the football. But I want to go to the phone. Still want to hear from you. You ready to move on from this drama? Do you think it was settled yesterday when Jalen and A.J. addressed the media, and I thought they did it in a very good way? So you can get in 610-632-0975. We're going to continue this conversation. I do want to talk a little Bill Belichick in a second. But let's go to the phones because John from South Philly wants to weigh in. What's up, John?
Hey, guys. How you guys doing? You guys have a great show.
Appreciate that.
Gotcha. I just wanted to chime in reference to Saquon Barkley. See, Saquon Barkley was brought here for us to win. So the business is going to go with what's winning. We're 11-2, and we have the most efficient rusher in history of the organization. So I think from a business standpoint, the organization is going to stick with that. But you guys are right. You and Amy are right in reference to the balance. There has to be a balance going into the postseason. It just has to be. Because teams are going to scout that, and they're going to see if they can regulate that. But from my perspective, I just think that the run is winning from a business standpoint. You know, so Jalen put it perfect when he said the dynamics of the team has changed. So he's saying it without saying it, that things have changed.
Yeah, and John's making a good point, and I'm not going to disagree that clearly Saquon has changed the dynamic of the offense. But my issue is less about, I know we're spending a lot of time talking about the stats, but my issue is less about the fact that they're leaning heavily on the run and more about when you watch the passing attack and you go back and you could watch some of the replays of Jalen just not looking like he's seeing open receivers or afraid to throw the football.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah, I think it's like maybe he sees it and thinks, all right, I'm not going to go down there. I'm going to go ahead and use the safe route. That's fine for once or twice. But when it's become the norm rather than the exception, I think that's where you're seeing some of the disconnect. Because it's fine if he looks out and, all right, well, it looks like A.J. Brown could have something on that go route. I don't know. I'm a little nervous. But it's like okay, so are you ever going to hit him on a go route? That's the thing that I think that it seems like it's been more of a consistent thing that he's hesitant to go on the deep balls, which is an A.J. Brown specialty, and more reliant upon, all right, well, I'm just going to go the safe route every single time.
Yeah, and it's a reluctance to throw the deep ball. It's a reluctance to throw the 50-50 ball. It's also holding onto the ball too quickly. And what I did like about what Jalen had to say yesterday is he was accepting some accountability for that, and he was specifically asked about getting the ball out of his hands quicker. Listen to Jalen.
There are moments where I can get it out quicker. There are moments where I could definitely get it out quicker. That's just something that I own. I'll be better with it. In terms of all that with my role, I'll figure it out.
I'm okay with that.
That's him taking accountability.
He's taking accountability.
He's saying, I need to be better in the passing game. So for people saying like, oh, you guys are making up. No. Jalen Hurts has said, we need to be better in the passing game. I need to be better in the passing game. He has literally said it now.
Yeah, it's something we've been debating for a while. I guess all of this, though, the issue was, and I don't think A.J. Brown is a diva. I've never felt like A.J. Brown was a diva. If A.J. Brown could go back, would he have answered that question post-game the same way? Probably not. Because when he just said passing, everybody was left to their own devices to decide.
Which he said, which he pointed out. He was like, yeah, you guys, people ran with it. Not media, even. He said, because it wasn't the media.
Yeah, he didn't blame the media. So I think the Eagles know. And this is what my point was last week, even bringing this up, was even though the team at that point was 10-2 when we talked about it on the show last week, was you watch these games, you know the passing offense needs to be better. And the fact that the team is now recognizing it, AJ's saying it, Jalen's saying it, Nick Sirianni, Kellen Moore, they all know, this is the area we need to improve on. So work on it. You got 4 weeks left. 4 weeks left to work on this. You just don't want it to be an issue come playoff time. But I want to hear from you. Are you still concerned about this passing attack? Do you think it's something that they can get better? But bigger news, this was my favorite tweet of the day. Excuse me. So Andrew Salciunas just tweeted and tagged me and Ray. First of all, shockingly, he's working out, Ray. I mean, that may be the bigger shock. Andrew Salciunas is at the gym. Is that a normal occurrence?
Yeah, that's a normal occurrence.
He's taking strays. He's not even here. You're getting ready to give him a compliment.
That's a tough shot to take at a guy.
The working out part may be a bigger shock, but Andrew tags me in a tweet and he says,
Not everybody's a meathead.
Working out, minding my own business when California Love comes on, and I find myself saying, Sirianni knows how to coach. I hate you, Bill Colarulo. You're welcome, Andrew.
There it is.
We save it for Mondays, Ray.
You can still give people a little bit of something. Just a little bit of something.
It is funny, though, that song. I can't really even hear it anymore without thinking of that terrible.
You hate that part,
and I
too.
annoy myself, too, with those lyrics. But we're going to continue with the Eagles conversation. When we get back, we'll get to more of your calls, but we'll talk about this Bill Belichick thing. Because a lot of people in Philadelphia were hoping that if the Eagles struggled this year,
then he might have been the coach.
that maybe Bill Belichick would have been coming to Philly. Well, that's not happening because he's going to become a Tar Heel at the University of North Carolina. I think it's a terrible decision.
What?
Terrible decision. We'll talk about it coming up next.
Kincade and Salciunas. Listen weekday mornings.
Everybody, Mike Missanelli show without Mike Missanelli, but you still get Bill and Ray and Amy Fadul today, the whole show. Thanks for hanging out with us, Amy.
Thank you for having me.
We're talking a lot about AJ and Jalen and the Eagles drama, but we're ready to move on. We're ready to put it behind us. They did a great job of helping us do that yesterday by addressing it in a genuine way. I know that their PR staff probably helped them with the message, but I thought they did a great job of it, and we'll continue that conversation, but we got to talk about Bill Belichick for a second. So this offseason, I was never buying that the Eagles were considering it. I know there were some reports. It just didn't make sense to me with the way Jeffrey Lurie likes to hire head coaches. He usually doesn't hire retreads. He usually doesn't hire defensive coaches. And he certainly doesn't hire people who demand total control anymore after what happened with Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really buying it, but now it looks like those rumors will officially be put to bed, not only because the Eagles are 11-2 and Sirianni's most definitely coming back next year.
Hell yeah.
Well, let's hope. Let's hope this
So
drama
much good.
doesn't
the smartest
creep
coach
in.
in the world.
Well, we got to hope this drama doesn't creep back in. But Bill Belichick has been hired by the University of North Carolina. I think this is a terrible, terrible decision by North Carolina. And at first I was kind of on the fence.
Wait, why?
All right, I'm going to tell you. Because at first I was on the fence about it, and I'm thinking, all right, yeah, he's got the name Bill Belichick. Clearly recruits are going to want to go there with all the Super Bowls and all that. And then I read an article last night on The Athletic by Stuart Mandel. And what he does is he says, I'm going to remove the name Bill Belichick, and I'm going to replace it with Coach X. And you tell me if this is a good hire. Coach X has never coached a day in college football. He's never recruited an athlete. He's never had to deal with the transfer portal. He's never had to deal with NIL collectives. His dad was a college coach at Navy 35 years ago. Coach X is known for being grumpy and introverted, two traits that don't often go hand in hand with wooing recruits. Coach X made his first post on Instagram on September 4th in which he referred to it as Instaface. And Coach X is 72 years old. And then he quotes what Nick Saban said. When you're 72, it gets harder and harder to promise people you're going to be there for 4 or 5 more years. So you put all those factors into it. If he didn't have the name Bill Belichick, how is this a good hire for the University of North Carolina?
What do you think of when I say the University of North Carolina?
Basketball.
Okay, there you go.
Well,
what are you talking about right now?
Well, they won the headlines. And that's kind of what he said in this
There's
article.
half your recruiting battle.
Oh, he said here, you did that thing so many schools do when they try to win the press conference instead of win football games, and it rarely works. It's a good article by Stuart Mandel. I mean, do you think this is a good move? I know they're going to get some publicity, but do you really think that Bill Belichick is going to make them good?
Are you asking me if I think Bill Belichick's a good coach?
No.
Okay,
If he's going,
you just asked me to think they're
if
going to
he's
make him
going to
good.
make a college football
yes,
program,
I do.
good.
I think he can coach football at every single level. He's been a coach for 49 years, which is 1 year older than his age gap between him and his girlfriend. But that's neither here nor there.
So, in addition to hiring,
Thank
yes,
you.
yeah, I
She's 24.
In addition, well, she's happy, but in
She's
addition
going back to college too.
in addition to hiring Belichick, they brought in Mike Lombardi. We all remember some clown named Mike Lombardi, right? Jason Kelsey. Was it Kelsey who called him a clown?
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't remember if it was him or no, it was Kelsey.
Yes, it was.
But Lombardi has been brought on.
The whole team.
Lombardi's been brought on as his general manager. The last time Lombardi was involved in the college ranks, he was a recruiting coordinator for UNLV 1984.
So he's got experience. Resume's long.
1984.
But here's why I think that it's not the worst idea is you just said something called a general manager. I don't care if it doesn't matter to me if he coached college football in 2000s or whenever in the 90s or the 80s before he was coming up, the 70s, because it's not the same thing. It is much more like an NFL operation in the fact that they have a general manager. There's people that are in charge of the finances. There's the guy that does that aspect of the NIL. That's all he does is manages the money. So there are a lot more correlations between the college game and the pro game than there ever have been.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point.
He is a good coach. Is he old? Yes. He is old. But they like old. They already had Mac Brown.
Well, yeah, I think he's only a year younger than what Mac Brown was.
There
So
you
they
go.
went younger.
So it's like
younger.
they're trying to be relevant. the ACC is not necessarily known as a football conference. They're definitely not a football school. They've been irrelevant in the football scene for a long. Even when they were good, they weren't. No, listen. I say that as a Kentucky grad. Hello, like, what do you know? You know one thing. Like, okay, maybe you had a blip here and there. They're trying to become relevant. He obviously knows how to coach. Do I think it's the best idea? No, it's certainly not the worst idea, though, because we're talking about it and everybody's talking about it.
I'm just shocked.
Do you think he can win? How many wins did they get this past year? I couldn't even tell you.
I couldn't even tell you either.
No
You're right.
one knows.
It's bringing relevancy. But here's what surprises me more. Not that North Carolina would do this because they did try to win the headline. They're trying to bring some relevancy to the program. That Bill Belichick would do it because he's only.
I think he's burnt every bridge in the NFL.
Well, that's what I was going to say because he only needs, 26 wins to catch Don Shula? Meaning he knew the writing's on the wall. He's not getting hired by an NFL team.
Yeah, I think he was done doing the media car washes and going through all of the stuff. The ESPN car washes, it's called up there, and he was appearing on the Manning Cast and the Pat McAfee show, and he's like, this is all well and good. And I thought he, added certain aspects to that. He's obviously very gifted when it comes to a football mind. I do think there's going to be some disconnect with players, but there is a certain gravitas when Bill Belichick walks in, because let's face it, how the recruiting game works nowadays is about one thing and one thing only at certain levels. Money.
Yeah, and if they can, this is certainly going to generate more NIL money having Bill Belichick. Well, we'll see how it all plays out. But the good news for us here in Philadelphia, us Sirianni supporters, we don't have to hear it all summer that they should hire Bill Belichick.
There you go. He's already working.
I know you're happy about that.
Well, I'm so happy for you because you were able to work this back to Sirianni somehow.
UNC was 6-6.
And they're playing in the Wasabi Fenway Bowl.
Yeah. Exactly. Here we go.
I'm not sure if this figure is correct, but if this is anywhere close to what they're generating, where they had $4 million in compensation last year for the roster, they might be getting close to $20 million in compensation for the roster. That's the difference already there.
There you go.
And you think about it, I'm not even worried about him in terms of recruiting players. It's going to be the staff that he builds out. If he builds out a staff that knows this environment, that knows this, like you see some young assistants in collegiate ranks that are like, you know what, I had the opportunity to go work for Bill Belichick. They're going to be the go-between between him and his players anyways, and they'll be dealing with a lot more of the, necessarily relationship-driven thing that maybe a 72-year-old can't with some of these kids.
With Insta-face, as Belichick said.
Money and coaches, all right, I think they might be able to succeed.
All right, well, we'll see how it all plays out. But I doubt. I mean, I'm still not going to really care about UNC football.
No,
but
you won't. But hey,
well, you don't like college football anyway.
I actually, I'm not a huge college football guy.
How much did you pay attention to Colorado 5 years ago?
You know what? That's a great point, Amy. Because I did start. I never really would watch Colorado,
Nope,
and then
but now you do.
Now I pay attention to them because of Deion. But Deion has the ability to relate to these kids.
Sure.
I don't think Belichick does.
No, I don't think he has to. Just
we'll
to tell you how to win.
Like Ray played on one of his News at Noon last week. Brady. And who else was there talking about
Edelman. Gronk.
Oh, and Gronk. That was so great.
And Brady's like, yeah, I could see him on the recruiting couch. We don't even want you, but
we don't even need you.
Yeah, you sure?
You're not any good.
I guess you could come here. Well, we'll see how it all plays out. But also talking about how it all will play out. Big game on Sunday for the Philadelphia Eagles. And it was funny at Jalen Hurts' press conference yesterday. Obviously, all the questions were about A.J. Brown, the passing game, the drama, all that. And then somebody said, well, I want to ask you about the Steelers' defense, and he even started laughing. Jalen goes, "Oh, you're a funny man. You're a funny man." Because we're not really looking.
Trying to.
Yeah, we're not really looking at the Steelers, but I think we should because I asked the question to start the show. Wow, Ray, that's so loud in my ear, Ray.
Yeah, no, that was a misfire there. Wrong keyboard.
I like it.
My God, you wouldn't do that to Mike. You see what he does?
Little Guns N' Roses?
I've hit the wrong button with Mike before. It's just a bit of more quick grab down there.
Man, that thing, I jumped out of my seat.
I jumped as well. I was like, I thought I had this down all the way.
I thought it was a rim shot. I was like, there wasn't anything really funny about that, but all right.
We threw out the question to start the show.
We're still listening to it. There we go.
If the drama is behind us now, and what I want to do down the stretch here, is it behind us, though, if they struggle against this Steelers defense? So I want to get Amy's opinion on that. We'll take a look forward at Sunday's matchup because we won't get to talk to Amy tomorrow, but we have her today. So we'll do a little Eagles-Steelers talk coming up, and we'll also revisit the question about a potential retractable roof in South Philly at the Eagles Stadium and if people are in support of it because that's the rumor circulating the city of Philadelphia. But sometimes rumors are just that, but we'll find out. But keep it here. We got you till 2 o'clock.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Addressing the drama, I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by PayPal. Get exclusive cashback offers in the app, and with a PayPal debit card, stack 5% more in your chosen monthly category on up to $1,000 in purchases. Don't just pay, PayPal. Yesterday, we finally heard from Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and A.J. Brown on the dramatics following Brandon Graham's comments on Hurts and Brown on Monday. The group showed a unified front on Wednesday with the message that Hurts and Brown are good and that the situation has been addressed. Here's Hurts addressing his relationship with A.J. Brown.
Sometimes things change as dynamics change, but for him, he knows I had a lot of love for him, just like I got a lot of love for all these guys. And ultimately, he's a guy that's a competitor. He wants to win. He damn sure wants the ball, and he wants to make an impact in the game, and I respect that.
Now we turn to the matchup with the 10-3 Steelers on Sunday at the Battle of Pennsylvania. The game is at 4:25 at Lincoln Financial Field. Tonight, the Wells Fargo Center Flyers host the Detroit Red Wings at 7. You can hear the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Also, earlier this morning, Philadelphia City Council voted yes to move the Sixers' proposed arena out of committee to a full vote next week as we get closer to the approval of 76th place. I'm Ray Dunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Missanelli Show. Taking you down the home stretch. You got Bill Colarulo, Amy Fadul, Ray Dunn. We'll be doing another 4 hours right after this with Tyrone and Silvana. Special day here on 97.5.
The Ray Day.
It is the Ray Dunn Day. But really, it's turned into the A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts week because of what happened on Monday night with Brandon Graham. And I see people on YouTube like, are you guys still really talking about this? Well, it is the topic of the day, not only here, but nationally, with all the drama that's happened. And
they addressed it. It was the topic in the locker room yesterday because they addressed it. And they did. I thought we played it. They did a very nice job addressing it.
They did a really nice job addressing it. And now we can turn our focus to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which we will do a little bit.
Or as they call it, the Stillers.
The Stillers. But this 1 o'clock hour was brought to you by Ferguson HVAC Lyon Conklin. Attention HVAC contractors for equipment, parts, and supplies for every heating and cooling job. Visit one of Ferguson's counter locations in Ben Salem, King of Prussia, Pennsauken, or Westchester. So this Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and we'll break it all down more in detail tomorrow. We'll have Tim McManus from ESPN join us like he always does on all our Football Fridays. But, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Amy, earlier in the show. When you got a guy like T.J. Watt, this defense is disruptive. They cause a lot of takeaways. They lead the NFL with 28 takeaways. They lead the NFL with a plus 17 turnover differential. And what may be a recipe for a little bit of a disaster this weekend, they're number 4 against the run. So if they're able to stop the run, and the Eagles have to rely on this passing offense that is really what started all of this drama because of what A.J. Brown said post-game, do you think they're going to be able to beat this team through the air?
I do. I mean, I think that because you have to be very, I don't even know how to, very precise. And I think that there's one thing that we've seen is that while they're not airing it out, he has been very particular with the throws as far as like, all right, I'm not looking to do too much. And it's worked fine. And I think for us, it was like, all right, we need to see more. This week, as I've said throughout the show, I don't need to see more Sunday. I'm all good with what you've been doing. Just do that. Maybe air it out next week.
Yeah. Well,
but I think they can. I think they are able to. You can throw on the Steelers' offense. You can throw on them. You just have to be you always have to be aware of where they are because they are, as you mentioned, very disruptive. And they're going to get home to the quarterback. There is no doubt about it.
Yeah, T.J. Watt's an absolute beast. But
Herbig.
And I said, though, they're good against the run.
Haywood. I mean, they're ridiculous.
They are pretty good. But I said they're good against the run. We've seen other teams who are very good against the run that haven't been able to stop this rushing attack. Ravens number 1 in the NFL as far as yards per carry against. I think they were number 2 in yards against coming into that game. No problem. I mean, it looked like Saquon wasn't his normal self in the first half. But what we've seen with Saquon Barkley is he gets stronger as the game goes on, and then you saw him turn it on in the second half, which was pretty impressive. So we'll see what happens on Sunday. But I want to go to phones. Mick from South Philly wants to talk about this Eagles passing game. What's up, Mick?
Hey, what's up, Bill and Amy? How y'all doing?
Hey, Mick, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Now, I was calling about the Eagles and Jalen Hurts and them. I was realizing that, like, at the beginning of the season, we didn't have AJ or Devontae available a lot. So I think they went to a different kind of offense. And when they got back, they got into that different kind of offense that's more running the ball wise, they felt that it was working. It ain't like they don't want to get the ball to AJ and them. It's that I think they still court in that play without them. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah. So you're confident, though. You think if they need this passing game to get going, if a team's able to shut down the run, you got confidence that the passing game can be effective.
And eventually it's going to be effective because you got to think about it. If AJ and if Devontae was with the team the whole year, we would be having a lot of passing yards. It would have been way better. I think he didn't want to throw to them other guys, so he got content and just throw them little short passes. Yeah. And I think he got stuck in that way. Like, oh, I'm winning like this. And now A.J. Brown coming back, they all coming back. They want the ball, but we still in that mode of not them being on the team. See what I'm saying? Them not playing.
Yeah, I got you, Mick. Yeah. I got you. See, the only thing is, though, is we keep talking about A.J. Brown wanting the ball. And I know he wants the football, as all great wide receivers do. Maybe I'm being naive, but I believed A.J. when he spoke yesterday. It's not just about him getting the football. Like, he does.
It's about the overall passing game.
Yes, he wants the passing game to be better. And I've seen A.J. Brown celebrate when Devontae has a big game. I've seen A.J. Brown, and he said it yesterday as well, Like, what do I tell Saquon at the end of the game? I tell him, end the game. Do we have that one, Ray? I'm looking. I don't know if he has that one talking about.
But those go hand in hand, though. You know what I mean? The passing game and A.J. Brown having a good game, that's
they
the
do
same
go.
thing.
Well, A.J. wants the ball because he thinks that would help them win football games.
He's
but
not wrong.
He did address a little bit of balancing winning and wanting the ball more. This was A.J. Brown yesterday.
I think, honestly, Nick may be talking to the guys that are new here because of the guys that have been here. Like I said, we have faced those emotions of going to the Super Bowl and losing. Last season, it been a season that we're not proud of, and right now we have an opportunity to correct those things. So sometimes, whenever we win, we're still not satisfied, and we can't be satisfied. We have to continue to keep growing and keep pushing forward. So, for some of us, a win is a win, and we trying to keep going. You know, it's not too much joy into it. You know, it's just we sacrificing our lives with this, and it's just like we're putting all our eggs in one basket and hoping to pay off. You know, and it's not a good feeling when you get to the edge and you fall short. And we've done that twice, so we have an opportunity to fix everything and move forward. So,
AJ, do you feel like?
So he's talking about getting to the Super Bowl losing, and then what happened last year with the collapse, and trying to balance the joy of winning and wanting more. And that's why I don't think he was being a diva when, even though they won, he wasn't happy with the product on the field because he wants to get to the Super Bowl again.
This is an Alec Boehm situation where people have kind of drawn like where Alec Boehm would complain, but the team was winning, and you thought, well, you need to buck it up, like right, like let's. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's sour grapes, and he's thinking like I'm not doing well, and I'm not happy, so I can't be happy that the team is happy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's that.
No, I think AJ, for everything I hear, he's a good kid. He's a good teammate. I think he wants to win above all, and he recognizes, like a lot of us have recognized, that the passing game's just not up to...
And him being involved just keep
it's just not up to par. And let's hope that's something they can get fixed down the stretch. Like you said, Amy, it may not be this weekend against a good Steelers defense, but you got a few weeks to get it right. We'll continue to break all that down. But, Ray, another thing that came up today, there's a lot of topics. Another thing that came up today, in addition to this drama, was that Jeffrey Lurie sold 8% of the team. I think it was valued at 8.5, which means he got like $646 million, which is ridiculous. Rumor is Ray may be part owner in that group, but the rumor is they raised this money because they may potentially be looking for a retractable roof dome down in South Philadelphia, something I would be totally in favor of. And I know some people have weighed in on the text board about a potential dome, Ray.
Yeah, Eric in Virginia. I'm torn on the dome thing. At this point in my life, I don't like being out in the cold November and December, but I also like the idea of warm weather teams having to come up north to play in December and January.
But if you look at the history of that, and how many times did a warm weather team come into what we thought was going to be a cold Lincoln Financial Field or even Veterans Stadium and win the game? Tampa Bay in 2002.
Tampa Bay, yeah, that's the first one that comes
right?
out.
You had the Carolina Panthers came here with Jake Delhomme in January in the NFC Championship game and dominated the Eagles from Carolina. Yeah. So, I mean, you could go back to...
Yeah, there's some... Because they're going to play against other teams that it's going to be cold in, too.
True.
So.
I mean, I'll go back to when they finally did get over the hump, the Eagles, in 2004, when Atlanta came to town. It was freezing. I was on the sidelines for that game. It was the coldest I remember. It had snowed earlier in the week. There was still some snow on the ground. It was freezing. Did that help them win that game? You know, after Brian Dawkins lights up Algie Crumpler over the middle? Maybe it did. But I don't know. I'd much rather it would be loud, but more importantly, how cool would it be? Super Bowl 60 or whatever coming to Philadelphia.
You could have different events. Like you said, it wouldn't be a building that's just for outdoor events. You could have something there in January. And from a business standpoint, that's what you're looking for, right? You're looking for having other events there in January, February, and March.
And from a city perspective, also looking to justify land being used once a year.
You could have it.
Yeah.
You could have a bowl game there.
But that's the problem with Buffalo. Like the Buffalo Bills, as cool as it is, you watch games and it's snow and it's
Lambeau
cold
too,
and all that. They can't do anything else there when the football season's over.
Well, in fairness, what else do you want to do in Buffalo?
I guess eat wings. I've never been to Buffalo. Ray, you make my jokes so much cornier with the drum.
Yeah.
I mean, that one really didn't need it because it was pretty corny enough.
Have you ever been to Buffalo?
Why would I go to Buffalo?
You know what? Now that I think about it, wait.
Nope.
Niagara Falls.
I've been to Syracuse. Does that count?
I've been
like
to
that's up
Syracuse
there.
too. I actually went to
Up there
Syracuse.
somewhere.
And they're most known for their dome. That's like the whole thing.
The Carrier Dome, yeah.
Yes, that's a loud place.
Wait, is Buffalo on the border of Niagara Falls?
It's like up there. It's basically Canada.
So then I guess I
Didn't they used to do that? Didn't they used to play games in Canada when they were really bad?
Yeah. I
Ray
remember
doesn't
that.
remember. Ray doesn't remember any of this.
You are. I need you on some of these nonsense things that enter my brain. I
Yes,
will look it up.
I agree
Continue
with
to
you,
talk.
Amy. Good point. I remember Canada.
I remember that country.
Somebody on YouTube, MPTR, says, all our players are from the South. Build a retractable. Well, by the time that the retractable dome was built, I don't even know if Jalen Hurts would be your quarterback anymore. You're talking probably 10 years
Are you running Jalen Hurts out of town?
You're talking 10 years from now.
That's what I heard. Bill Colarulo just said he's not sure that Jalen Hurts is the guy that's going to be here in 10 years.
I am a fan of Jalen. I want to see Jalen improve his game. See, that's what we didn't talk about today.
Podcast headline: Bill Colarulo questions whether or not Hurts will be here long term.
Brandon, who does our social clips sometimes, the way he clips it, sometimes
Brandon, if you could
sends a
give me
different
one
message.
thing, this is a Christmas gift for me. Tweet it out.
Yeah.
Oh my
Tweet
gosh!
it out.
Don't do it.
Get him.
Yeah,
There you go.
Bill said.
From 2008 to 2012, they played one home game in Toronto, and yes, it is on the border of Niagara Falls.
There we go. So I guess I have been to Buffalo, but then you made me lose
You're
my
so memorable
my
that you didn't remember.
Toronto Bills.
my train of thought here. Oh, with Jalen Hurts, one of the things we didn't talk about today when we talk about Jalen Hurts and this passing game needing to improve, and I know this shouldn't matter, but in reality it does. You didn't pay Jalen Hurts $255 million to not be a big part of the offense. Like they didn't pay him this much money to just hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley. Now, it's a recipe for success. I get it. I want to see them win a Super Bowl more than anything else, but you didn't ask Jalen Hurts to be a game manager and give him a $255 million contract. And I think he is more than a game manager, and I that's why I want to see the passing game improve.
Thing.
What's
Being
not
a
a
game
bad thing?
manager is not the worst thing you've ever.
It's not, but this is like when we go back to the conversation we had earlier of if he was Trent Dilfer or Brad Johnson.
Well, those are not
then
even
I'd be
game
o-
managers.
Then I'd be okay
they were
with
just
it.
physically standing in sometimes at the quarterback position.
But I've seen Jalen Hurts have an ability to throw the ball. You know, and when you have
And
weapons,
that's what you paid him for.
yes,
That's
and
your
when you
point. I
have
get
weapons
that.
like
Yeah,
AJ and Devontae and all that, then you expect this passing offense to not be 31st in the NFL. No matter how good your rushing attack is, it should not be 31st in the NFL. But Ray, I know we had a lot of text on this, on the Jalen Hurts, AJ stuff. What else we got on the text board?
Yeah, we got someone, Mark and Warminster checking in. This is so frustrating. Listen to Jalen has a stacked team, period. His passing is subpar. Think back to any time he played Tampa Bay. A strong run game controls clock, reduces turnovers, which typically rookie quarterbacks thrive in. He's 5 years in. He is what he is, and that's a mediocre quarterback that's starting simply because he was paid too soon.
Right on the cue with the paying stuff. See, I can't get to the fact that he's a mediocre quarterback, though. And now- Jalen Hurts. Is that what he said?
No,
He said Jalen Hurts is
That's
a
what he said.
mediocre
That's what he
quarterback.
said.
that's not.
I read
no.
it. Yep, that's why I read
So this brings us back to the other thing we were discussing today about whether or not wins should be considered a quarterback stat. Because if you agree with us that it's maybe not the end-all, be-all for a quarterback statistic, but it certainly helps show how good a quarterback is, when you're 45-19, you can't just be mediocre, right? I mean, you can't be. It has to be. You have to be a good quarterback when you win as often as Jalen Hurts has won, even going back to college.
There's no. I mean, listen, we all can have. If you have some kind of preconceived notion or opinion of Jalen Hurts and how he operates and what, that's fine. The numbers do not bear any of that out. They just don't. You can think he's an average quarterback, or how that one gentleman put it, mediocre. That's laughable. That's laughable. A mediocre quarterback couldn't back into 45 wins.
No, 45-19 is crazy.
I'm not saying he has to be like amazing. I don't need him to be Joe Burrow through the air all the time.
Well,
Joe Burrow has
MBD asked a good question on YouTube saying, but what do you consider mediocre? Because if the definition of mediocre is 15th best in the NFL, then maybe Jalen is.
That's average. 15 would be average, literally average. Mediocre is below average. Mediocre is not good.
And I'm still, even though I have been critical of Jalen Hurts' passing game over the last couple of weeks, I still put him above 15th in the NFL. I mean, coming into the season, I had him ranked 5th.
Mediocre is defined as of moderate or low quality value, ability, or performance.
Moderate or low quality?
Moderate or low quality.
Yeah, I can't buy that. But what I can buy, Ray, our closing arguments.
Now, closing arguments on the Mike Missanelli Show. Brought to you by Lowenthal and Abrams Injury Attorneys. Injured in an accident, call 800-876-LAWYER or visit lowenthalabrams.com.
So my closing argument today is obviously about the drama involving Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. Once Brandon Graham threw gasoline on the fire, we knew that this was something that the Eagles would have to address. But how they addressed it was going to determine whether or not we could turn the page on this quote-unquote drama. And I thought from top to bottom, the Eagles handled it better than anyone else could have wished for. It started with Nick Sirianni at his press conference. It started with him talking about that they addressed it in the team meeting. Then you had A.J. Brown speak at his locker with thousands of reporters. You had Jalen Hurts give his press conference last night. You even had Jordan Mailata weighing in saying this is not the Jalen and A.J. show. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. The Eagles handled it very well when they addressed it to the media. But those were just words. So now they have to handle it well on the field. Because the only thing that can bring this drama back would be if you see the Philadelphia Eagles struggle against a very good Pittsburgh Steelers team and a very good Pittsburgh Steelers defense. So I'm hoping that you see the Eagles come out, and even if they don't win the game, if they look good and efficient offensively, especially in the passing game, so we can move on from all of these questions about Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. Amy, what you got?
No, I mean, moving on is the key word. That's that, or key words. I guess there's more than one there. You have to move on from this. They've already moved on. We're trying to as well. But the problem is, as you mentioned, it could rear its ugly head. You're hoping it doesn't. You prepare for it in case. But I think that it did bring some things to light, and I think that that could be a good thing moving forward. I think getting it out in public, the passing game has long been a problem the last several weeks. And I feel like, all right, now we've talked about it. Now we can move on.
Yeah, and when we say problem, and I've used that word before, understand we recognize that they're 11-2 and that they've won 9 games in a row. But when you're looking at a team,
yards is
but it depends on what lens you're looking through. Like we're not looking at this team. We're not other franchises. We're not other cities where we're just happy with winning.
Is mediocre.
It is mediocre. There you go. Bringing it
That's
back
of
to
low quality.
To the word. Maybe that'll be the word of the day coming up with Ray and Tyrone after. But we're looking at it as we want this team to win a Super Bowl, and I don't want a passing attack that includes Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert.
Because it's right there for the taking.
Yes, to be the reason why
those guys are out there. Just get them the ball.
They are too good. Well, look, a big thank you to Amy Fadul.
Thanks for having me.
Hanging out with us today. As always, Ray Dunn doing a great job behind the glass, and you're going to want to keep it here because you get 4 more hours of Ray Dunn. Doesn't get much better than that. Mike Missanelli will be back tomorrow for our Football Friday. We'll have Tim McManus, NFL picks. Hope everybody has a great night. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate our YouTube chat. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
At Lincoln Financial Field. Tonight at the Wells Fargo Center, Flyers host the Detroit Red Wings at 7. You can hear the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.